Anger the system, and he would have been forcibly unbound and stripped of the opportunity. He might even have drawn a purge mission. Even with the pure void sect at his back, escaping death would not have spared him a brutal lesson from a host. He looked at Zhang Saje's ruined state with lingering dread, privately grateful. It was Zhang Saje who had thrown the challenge first. Had he been the one to provoke me, he would be the one under the palm. Samahan's face drained white. He roared out his despair, his legs buckled, and he collapsed to the ground. Around him, the officials crumpled to their knees too, swaying, mouthing the same two words over and over, that it was over. Zhang Saje's defeat had shattered their last hope. The power and endless wealth they had leaned on all their lives evaporated in a breath. From here on, they were nothing but ordinary offspring of officials, unable to run wild, forever nervous their family businesses would fold. One wrong step could drop them from their heights into the very commoner class they had spent their lives despising. For a beat, the million spectators only stared at the 100-meter palm, dazed, unable to trust their own eyes. Then the radiance of pure excitement broke across their faces. So Wandang forgot her careful fairy poise entirely, bouncing up and down, shouting that I had won, that Yu Il had won, that it was incredible. Xiao Wang laughed that the Dao Seed martial arts system was not a hair inferior to immortal cultivation, and that his old choice had been right. Xiao Songgan stood rigid, fists clenched, until the fingertips whitened. The moment hardened his resolve. He carried a lightning spiritual root and top-tier aptitude, and had always been torn about which road to walk. Watching me flatten an immortal master with one palm finally convinced him that martial Dao, too, could lead to the peak. He thanked me under his breath for steadying his heart. Little Yellow was leaping about, tail spinning like a propeller, barking without pause. Since he did not dare speak, he flooded my system messenger instead. Master was too amazing, he wrote, explosively handsome. His admiration for me endless as a surging river. I read it and messaged back that I already knew, and told him that if he could talk, he should say more of it. I looked around at the cheers rolling in like a tide, every face lit with shock and joy. The battle had come easier than I imagined, and its impact ran further than I planned. The Five Elements giant palm had not merely beaten a cultivator. It had cracked the whole world's contempt for martial Dao. Now everyone knew that stepping onto the martial road could carry a man to strength too. I drew the palm back and turned my gaze on Zhang Saje, asking whether he had lost and still wanted to fight. The instant the pressure lifted, he fished out a healing pill and swallowed it. After a while, he forced himself upright and stared at me, hoarse with shock. Was I really only a martial artist, and not a cultivator? I told him plainly that I was a martial artist. My aptitude for immortal cultivation had been too poor, so I had switched to martial Dao long ago. The facts had just proved a man could still reach strength through martial arts. He looked around at the excitement and the open mockery, and his heart went cold. With a single thought, he recalled the flying sword to his hand, said nothing more, rose onto it, and fled the plane where he had lost every scrap of face. I flashed to Little Yellow's side, grabbed him, and vanished in the same breath. In the Jin state capital, I wrapped an illusion over my face and figure, wary of being recognized. I stood squarely in the spotlight, and exposure would only invite trouble. Walking the streets, I found the passers-by buzzing about my victory with open delight. They did not tilt toward the court just because they stood in the court's own city. It did not surprise me. One glance at the dilapidated thatch beside the high gates and broad courtyards told the whole story. The capital's commoners lived hard, and poverty was the ordinary state of most. In this world, the capital's poor had it worse, hemmed in by swarms of noble offspring, and a careless commoner could see his whole family destroyed. But the balance had flipped now. With my win, the host side held the high ground, and the court's prestige was not what it had been. Those noble sons would no longer dare to bully the common folk at will. More and more ordinary people were taking up martial arts, ceasing to be a defenseless herd. The rage of a common man can splash blood 5 steps, as the saying goes. With power in their hands, the commoners would stop letting themselves be trampled. The change had only just begun, and injustice still ran thick. But given time, as more of them mastered real power, they would hold more of the initiative on this land, and their voices would carry more weight. I looked at it all and felt a genuine pride. In the mortal Jin state, I had planted a solid step toward pulling the cultivators and the nobility down off their high horses. As the system kept spreading, other countries would surely meet the same earth-shaking turn. Then I looked at the grandest brothel in the capital, standing right in front of me, and stepped inside. I had just won a great fight, and it was well past time to celebrate. Today, Just this once. I told Little Yellow we would live extravagantly. I lay half reclined on a carved sandalwood couch, the table before me heaped with delicacies, steam curling up with an intoxicating smell. A young woman in light gauze fed me with care. Two others knelt behind me and worked my shoulders and neck with just the right pressure. A capital brothel earned its name, the women's beauty and the polish of the service far past anything in Chongzan town. To my surprise, the women here had bound the system and taken up martial Tao too. At this rate, I thought, places like this might quietly vanish. If there were any other way to make a living, who would keep selling smiles to please strangers? The change gladdened me. Proof my mark on this world ran ever deeper. Even women in a house of vice had finally been handed the chance to choose their own lives. And yet, knowing how rare such fine service would be once brothels emptied out, I could not help a small pang of melancholy. Off to the side, Little Yellow sprawled on the soft couch, eyes half shut, wholly content, wallowing in the comfort right alongside me. I let the overthinking go and sent my divine sense into the system to skim the talk about the duel. The comments ran hot in one direction now. I was incredible. No one had backed me, and I had made them all proud. I had pinned the nation-guarding immortal master with one palm. It was a great victory for the commoners against the high and mighty. One better crowed that he had staked 2,000 energy points on me and walked away with 10,000. All of them agreed the Dao Seed martial arts system was not inferior in the least. A smile pulled at my mouth. The chain reaction had outrun every expectation. It hardened the foundation of the Dao Seed martial arts system, handed its practitioners back their confidence, and broke the resistance of the court's powerful in one stroke. The Jin State throne would not stir up trouble for a good while, and the situation had finally settled. It was time for a new road. I would cross thousands of mountains and rivers and comprehend the full 3,000 great Tao laws, so the world seed could ripen to perfection. More pressing still, I had to put the deduction of the next realm's cultivation technique on the schedule. 3 years slid by. The long-awaited Ascension Assembly came round again. About 100,000 people carrying dreams of cultivation flooded the testing grounds until the vast field could hold no more. Li Jie looked over the churning crowd with a satisfied curl to his lips and praised Zhang Sajie beside him. Li Jie said Zhang Sajie had handled it beautifully this time. So many had heard of the day and come eager, and a great number already had chi condensed around them, likely from mortal martial arts. Zhang Sajie's smile deepened, and he thought privately that spreading word through the system was effortless. 8 or 9 of every 10 present carried the aptitude for immortal cultivation, with peerless geniuses of heavenly spiritual roots surely among them. Li Jie would be floored soon enough. It ran exactly as Zhang Sajie expected, and then some. Nearly everyone who came possessed the aptitude. More staggering still, they gathered 1,000 people with heavenly spiritual roots in a single sweep. In past years, landing even one such disciple counted as a rich harvest, and 1,000 mere aptitude holders was more than they could manage. Li Jie started shocked and delighted, then went numb as the qualified numbers kept climbing, then simply lost the thread of it. Had his luck detonated? No luck stretched this far. A full 100,000 with the aptitude. Most carried 3 spiritual roots or better. The 4 spiritual roots and the 5-element spiritual root types were oddly scarce, and the reason for that scarcity was mine. Someone in the system, meaning me, had long spread the word that 4 spiritual roots and the 5-element spiritual root had no future in immortal cultivation, and only wasted a life. Such people were better off in martial Tao, and so few of them had bothered to show. With numbers like that, it stopped being a pleasant surprise and became an outright shock. 100,000 aptitude holders were more than even the deep-rooted, heavenly revelation sect could swallow, and Li Jie stood there wholly out of ideas. Zhang Sajie saw the loss on his face and quickly suggested a plan. Since these 100,000 carried real aptitude, they should report the whole thing to the sect and let the leadership decide whether to recruit them all. Li Jie agreed that junior brother Zheng was right, and that the sect leader and the elders should rule on it. He took out a communication magical artifact and laid the situation out in full. The Heavenly Revelation sect leader, Im Nam, read the message and could not believe it. Only after confirming it again and again did he accept it as true and summon the 10 great elders. Elder Ram met it with open disbelief. Was the sect leader joking? 100,000 aptitude holders and 1,000 heavenly spiritual roots? Could that be real? Had the testing magical artifact simply malfunctioned? Im Nam explained he had already confirmed it with Li Jie. The man had no reason to fake something so easily checked. His own worry was exactly that. a faulty artifact, which was why he wanted Elder Ram to carry a fresh one and retest them. Elder Ram then asked the harder question: should they recruit these 100,000 if the aptitude proved genuine? Nam answered without hesitation. If it was true, they would take every one. That meant no shortage of hands to run the spiritual chi conversion formation, and room to build several more. If the outer sect station ran short of space, they would expand it, which was no trouble for a sect like theirs. He said this most likely signaled the coming of a golden age, for otherwise so many gifted people would never surface at once. A golden age always rode in beside a great catastrophe. The recent battle in the River of Time that had appeared within the sect might well foreshadow it. So they had to seize the moment and build strength against the crises ahead. The 10 great elders voiced their agreement as one. Nam asked Elder Ram to make the trip, and Elder Ram bowed low and pledged to obey. Elder Ram reached the Ascension grounds soon after with the new testing artifact. He ordered Li Jie to retest everyone at once, and confirm with care whether they truly held the aptitude. Li Jie answered respectfully and set the whole operation in motion. A long while later, it was done. Elder Ram studied the final tally and said nothing for a long time. The 100,000 did every last one carry the aptitude for immortal cultivation. He made the call on the spot, telling Li Jie to arrange the flying boats and bring them all back to the Heavenly Revelation sect. When Li Jie asked, needing to hear it twice, whether he truly meant all 100,000, Elder Ram's face stayed firm. Recruit every one. In the Wool State and the Fire Kingdom and every other land the system had blanketed, the same scene played out. The major sects moved the instant the news broke. Faced with a recruiting windfall that came once a century, not one of them let a single aptitude holder slip away. Across those same 3 years, I had roamed the Jin State, the Fire Kingdom, the Wool State, and beyond. I crossed strange peaks and steep ridges, threaded the depths of crowded markets, and watched the whole spread of human life while hunting enlightenment in the mortal world. I drank in the scenery and never once slacked my cultivation. By now, I had comprehended 2,312 of the 3,000 Great Tao laws, with only 688 left. At my current realm, I could finish the rest inside 3 years even without any further opportunity. My grip on the space-time realm had reached 30%, and my power of deduction had climbed by leaps. Few souls in the world could match my comprehension ability now. If I ever put the 235.1 billion subsystems to work, even drawing only on their surplus, my deduction alone would touch the level of an immortal. It was a frightening thing to hold in reserve. Just then, Little Yellow burst out with big news. In the Jin State, the Wool State, the Fire Kingdom, and every other system-covered land, each sect at this Ascension Assembly had recruited nearly 100,000 aptitude-holding disciples. Basically, all of them were 3 spiritual roots or better. Those cultivator schools were about to see their strength rocket. Then he wrinkled up in confusion and asked why, if I wanted to bring the cultivators down, I had ever added the physique display function at all. Was that not handing the enemy free strength? I sighed, honestly disappointed in how little he had grown. I had told him to read more, and he never listened. All he did was scroll the video feed, browse the forum, and run off to the brothel. After following me this long, he still could not see the reason behind my moves. I added that he did not even cultivate, when he could use the enlightenment space whenever he pleased, and never ran short on energy points. He still sat at the mere peak of the Divine Sea Realm without so much as choosing the direction of his own Tao, hopelessly unmotivated. Little Yellow muttered that he only went to the brothel because he learned it from me. Then he stiffened his neck and declared that he had, in fact, decided his Tao. He would cultivate the great Tao of devouring. He said I had once told him the tale of the heavenly dog that swallows the sun, and he meant to become a heavenly dog exactly like that. My face darkened, and I hurried to defend myself. He was not to slander me. I only went now and then to unwind and get a proper massage. Nothing like him bolting off to that kind of place every other day. He shrank his neck in guilt, rubbed his head against my feet, and changed the subject. He asked why I did not simply switch off the physique display, so the schools could not scoop up so many disciples and grow so strong. I looked at the lazy little creature and shook my head, a knowing smile tugging at my mouth. I told him he was short-sighted. The strongest fortresses are most often torn down from the inside. 100,000 hosts with real aptitude had just flooded into the schools. So on the surface, each school's power had swelled. But every one of those recruits carried system assistance and would cultivate at blistering speed. Soon they would rise to become the backbone of their schools, even senior members. For the sake of energy points, most would sell the secret manuals they came across straight to the system. So I would gather a mountain of manuals, fatten them all, and use them to comprehend more Great Tao laws. I paid only energy points, a guaranteed profit start to finish. I went on to say that once those recruits held a voice, it could sway their sex decisions and make the system far easier to spread. Who would ever willingly give up a system this powerful? It is easy to slide from thrift into luxury, and brutal to climb back. Once these people had tasted the convenience, returning to the old way would be more than they could stand. I asked whether he could give up the system himself right now. Of course he could not. Little Yellow shook his head hard and swore that without the system he would rather be dead. Then he frowned and worried. With so many hosts pouring into the schools, was I not afraid the system would be exposed too early? It clashed with my plan to grow quietly first. What if the schools banned the spread? I threw back my head and laughed, sure of every word. He should not forget that these hosts had clawed their way up through the forums and the video feed. Their eyes and their cunning were no softer than any old hand of the Jiang Hu. Competition inside the cultivator schools ran vicious. Once the fairness system spread there, each host's private edge would vanish. So who would ever volunteer to reveal it? Even the nation-guarding immortal masters might never breathe a word of the system to their own sex. And even if someone did slip, so what? The functions were so powerful that no cultivator alive could resist them. Look at the nation-guarding immortal masters, who used the thing more helplessly than anyone. If the schools ever grasped that the system could recruit more geniuses and deepen their power, they might well come to blows over it. Little Yellow's eyes flew wide and bright, his tail wagging in delight. Full of admiration, he said it had all been folded into my calculations from the start. He had been wondering why I would ever hand my opponents free help, and now he saw the chess was played too brilliantly. I told him slowly that it was only a rough sketch so far. The real direction would follow the ground as it shifted. The future held endless unknowns, and few things ran exactly to plan, but none of it mattered since at the very least we now held the initiative. Events unfolded just as I had said. The new hosts inside the cultivator schools kept their mouths shut. The returning nation-guarding immortal masters stayed silent too, none of them ever breathing the system's name. To guard against leaks, they even built a set of secret codes for hosts to speak among themselves. Hungry for energy points, they steadily sold off the precious classics of the scripture pavilions to the system store for generous returns. The Golden Core nation-guarding immortal masters wanted to advance so badly, and their higher cultivation and authority let them reach so many more manuals. Apart from the core legacy techniques, they sold everything to the system without a flicker of hesitation. For a stretch, the count of techniques and manuals in the store swelled exponentially. The Great Sex had no idea, still basking in the joy of recruiting geniuses. The new hosts did not disappoint their schools either, cultivating at an astonishing clip on system support. Before long, a wave of them broke into the 9th level of Qi refining, with many stepping straight into the Foundation Establishment realm and the 10th level of Qi refining. The senior members were beside themselves at recruiting so many splendid disciples, crying out that heaven itself blessed the sect. In their joy, they overlooked a few irregularities. Meanwhile, as hundreds of thousands of hosts settled in, they shared the inner life of those sects across the system's social platform. Through text, images, and recorded video, they laid bare everything from daily cultivation to sect activities, without the slightest reserve. The once mysterious cultivator schools slowly shed their veils and set off an enormous uproar. An outer sect disciple of the Heavenly Revelation sect stood talking in one such video. He said he would walk his fellow Taoists through the daily life of an outer sect disciple. Every day at first light, they had to rise on the dot and begin morning breathing to cultivate Qi. Once mid-morning arrived, they went to operate the spiritual Qi conversion formation, a hard rule every outer sect disciple had to obey. He warned them not to underestimate running the formation for 6 hours. It was mentally grinding, physically draining work that burned through spiritual power and stalled their own cultivation. Only by pulling an extra 4 hours of overtime every single day for a full month could they trade the labor for one spirit fragmentation stone. The spiritual Qi packed inside such a stone was so thin that, converted, it came to only about 20 energy points, not even matching a day's system output. He pursed his lips, half helpless. If only he had been born with a heavenly spiritual root, he could have walked straight into the inner sect and never touched such drudgery. I had worked that exact shift in this life and, in a way, in the one before it. The comment section under his video detonated, and this was the part where I leaned in. They were finally saying out loud what I had died knowing. The feed roared, one voice after another. Did that count as cultivation, or was it just a cultivator turned beast of burden? How did it differ from working for money in the mortal world when it only swapped silver for spirit fragmentation stones? One man said his whole worldview had shattered. He had pictured cultivators in serene seclusion, waited on hand and foot, only to learn they clocked in like anyone else. Another swore his own mortal life was more comfortable than this. He had thought cultivation was the road to the peak, and it turned out to be a black-hearted factory. A third did the grim math. A month of overtime for a single stone worth 20 energy points, and said the greediest slumlord who ever lived would tip his hat at exploitation that clean. Others warned that the 4 spiritual roots and the 5 element spiritual root types had it worse still, with no real hope of foundation establishment, worked to the bone and cast out old and useless. And more than a few thanked their own luck for choosing the Tao Seed martial arts system, since it made them powerhouses all the same. They said that even a beast of burden seemed to live more decently than the men they had once envied. As more hosts uploaded these slices of sect life, the public's picture of the cultivation world steadily sharpened into focus. These cultivators were not perched above the mundane world at all. They too kept a schedule and ground through repetitive tasks. The plain honesty of the footage slowly dissolved the old mystery and longing people had heaped on cultivators and their sects. Little Yellow watched one such video with open disbelief. He asked whether the cultivation sects were really this dark. You could barely find landlords that black-hearted anymore in the mortal world the system had reached. I had seen the video too, and it dragged my own past up with it. I sighed and admitted the sects were genuinely dark, but measured against mortal world life as it once was, they still came out ahead, since they at least guaranteed 3 meals a day. Little Yellow looked at me with sympathy. He said I had once been an outer sect disciple of the Heavenly Revelation sect. I had failed foundation establishment, grown old, and been kicked out, which was truly miserable. My face went dark, and I brought my hand down on his dog head. If he did not know how to talk, he should shut up. No one kicked me out. I had left of my own free will to start my own business. Did he understand? He took the blow and agreed at once that Master was right. Without me stepping out to build something, we would never have the fine life we had now. He scratched his head with a paw, aggrieved, and nodded on, terrified of earning a second slap. I told him to come along, that we would find some lavish restaurant in the city ahead and eat well. I brought him up to the top floor, where the view opened wide over a great sweep of scenery. Just as I was hunting for an empty table, a greeting reached my ears. Someone called out that fellow Taoist Yu should come sit with him, since there happened to be an open seat. I turned to find a bearded, middle-aged man in a dark blue robe, a white feather fan resting in his hand, wearing the unmistakable air of an old war strategist. I raised an eyebrow, honestly baffled, and asked whether he had truly been speaking to me. He said he had indeed been speaking to me, that he had never expected to meet fellow Taoist Yu in Nuso City, and that he counted it a great honor. He named himself Sa Tong, courtesy name Unju, whom the friends of the Jianghu called the Know-It-All. He waved the fan and gestured me over. I answered that fellow Taoist Sa was too courteous, walked across, and sat down opposite him. Sa Tong asked, curious, whether I had come to Nuongso City for the once-in-a-decade trading assembly of the Nuongso Immortal Cultivation Market. I shook my head and said I was only passing through. Then I let my own curiosity show and asked what this trading assembly was. He shook the white feather fan and told me it was no secret. The Immortal Sunset sect hosted it once every 10 years, and every major sect and cultivation family in the region sent people. It ran auctions, and better still, drew loose cultivators who set up stalls to trade rare treasures. The whole thing was held 100 kilometers east of Nungso City. He said he had come for it himself, and that if I wished to go, we could travel together. The trading assembly interested me at once, since I might turn up a treasure or two there. But a worry followed on its heels. Every transaction in the cultivation world ran on spirit stones, and I did not hold a single one. Even inside the market, I could do nothing but stare. If only energy points would buy things. Then it struck me that the Sa Tong before me was also bound to a system, and cultivated the Tao Seed martial arts system. Perhaps I could trade him energy points for some spirit stones. After a moment's hesitation, I asked whether he had any spare spirit stones on him, and whether he would let me exchange some energy points for them. He laughed and agreed on the spot. Of course he would, since energy points were far more useful than spirit stones. He happened to be carrying 100 surplus low-grade spirit stones. I thanked him sincerely, and we closed the trade then and there. Afterwards, Sa Tong could not help sighing. The cultivation world still used spirit stones for currency, which struck him as hopelessly backward. It would be so much better to trade in energy points. He mused that the cultivation world had scarcely changed in millions of years, as though time itself had stalled. Look at the places the system covered, where something new appeared every day. At this rate, the cultivation world would sooner or later be overtaken by the mortal world. I let a curious look surface, and asked whether fellow Taoist Sa truly believed that. He waved the fan and went on. To be honest, he too had been an outer sect disciple, of the pure void sect. He had once dreamed of cultivating all the way to immortal ascension. Then he found his aptitude too poor and his road ahead barren, and turned back to the mortal world for good. To his shock, the system-covered mortal world had undergone earth-shaking change and brimmed with life everywhere he looked. But the cultivation world held to the same ancient rut, unchanged in millions of years, its bottom-rung disciples more like beasts of burden than ever. He said that if the trend held, the mortal world might one day become an immortal realm on Earth. I looked at him with genuine surprise. I had not expected the man to carry a real strategist's edge and see it that clearly. I told him fellow Taoist Sak was exactly right. I was honestly curious what faces the cultivation sects would make the day they discovered the mortal world was not a hair beneath them. He laughed loud and said he looked forward to it too, though it would take some time yet for the mortal world to catch up. Right at that moment, I caught a familiar figure on the street below, and my expression shifted. A soft sound of surprise slipped out of me. A young woman was strolling the streets of Nungzhou City, looking left and right, her face full of curiosity, little exclamations escaping her now and then. Every trace of the cold, ethereal, immortal Kai poise I associated with her had vanished. She looked like a curious girl from next door. My first thought was that my eyes had tricked me. Only after sizing her up carefully did I confirm that the figure below was truly the heavenly revelation sect saintess, Ye Shengso. The sheer contrast with the woman I knew caught me off guard. Sei Tong followed my gaze and could not hold back a soft exclamation. He said it really was the heavenly revelation sect saintess Ye Cheong-so, and that he would never have expected her on the bustling streets of the mortal realm. She was likely here for the Nungso Immortal Cultivation Market Trading Conference, and the Creation Secret Realm 1 month away. Seeing the curiosity on my face, Sa Tong smiled with a touch of pride. He said his name as the know-it-all was not for show. His cultivation talent might not be top tier, but gathering information was his true strength. The Yechung soul below was the heavenly revelation sect, saintess, bearer of an ice spiritual root, standing at the late golden core stage. She had already refined a high-pattern golden core, with a strong rumored chance of reaching the coveted 9-pattern core. That would make her the undisputed #1 genius of the heavenly revelation sect, surpassing even the Saint Ye Riang. She was the acknowledged #1 beauty of the whole eastern wasteland cultivation world, with countless suitors chasing her. Satong said that, had he not seen it himself, he would never have believed the icy fairy had such a side. Just then, as if she felt the eyes on her from above, Ye Chung-sol looked up all at once, a flash of surprise crossing her face. In an instant, she recovered her usual cold fairy poise, turned, melted into the crowd, and was gone. Sei Tong exclaimed that her perception was terrifyingly sharp. Ye Cheong-sol truly lived up to her name. Spotting him after only 2 glances, he admitted he had worried he might land in trouble for glimpsing another side of her. But fortunately, she was just as the rumors held, cold on the outside and kind underneath. He had even heard she once talked the emperor of the Jin state into lowering taxes and easing the lives of the common people. I let real surprise show and said there was truly such a story, and that fellow Taoist Sa deserved the name know-it-all to dig out even secrets like that. Sa Tong grinned ear to ear, plainly thrilled. Where he would normally laugh off flattery, praise from me struck differently. After all, I was the #1 among every system host, long fixed at the top of the Trial Tower's Dao Seed combat ranking, with a strength that unsettled people. He had personally witnessed the day I suppressed the nation-guarding immortal master Zheng Sajie under a single palm, a scene that had left him unable to recover for 3 days and 3 nights. I asked, curious, what the Creation Secret Realm actually was, the place Ye Chung-sol meant to enter a month from now, and whether he could tell me more. He waved a hand and said it was no great secret, that most Golden Core cultivators knew of it. He had no intent to hide it from me. Partly a simple question anywhere would turn it up. Partly I could tell he wanted to befriend me and bank a favor against some future need. He paused, gathered his thoughts, and began. The Creation Secret Realm was a place where the origin of the great Tao converged between heaven and earth. Inside it, The 3,000 Great Tao laws and the spiritual qi evolved into Great Tao beasts. Cultivators could slay those beasts for law crystals, which tempered the golden core and lifted its quality, laying the foundation for a breakthrough to the nascent soul realm. The law crystals could not be carried out of the secret realm. Some prodigies of fine aptitude and comprehension could even grasp a trace of a law ahead of time inside it. The realm was carved into 3,000 independent areas, each tied to one type of Great Tao law. A golden core cultivator was dropped at random into a single law area upon entry. Any attempt to cross into another would summon the Great Tao law threads to wrap around the trespasser and double the gravity crushing down on his body. His tone turned solemn. The secret realm opened only to cultivators at the golden core realm and below, and only once every 100 years. It was exactly these many restrictions that had preserved it to this day. Otherwise, the great sects would have carved up its opportunities long ago. Ye Chang's soul, he judged, was likely bent on breaking her golden core to 9 patterns there. The creation's secret realm sat a creation mountain, 1,000 kilometers east of Nyeongso City. Every opening drew golden core cultivators from the major schools, along with loose cultivators from all around. He too planned to try his luck this time, hoping to comprehend a few great Tao laws and perfect his Tao seed. My eyes lit at every word. For me, the creation's secret realm was nothing short of a supreme treasure land, a real chance to race the 3,000 great Tao laws to completion. As for the danger of entering, at my Tao seed realm, no one of the same realm should be able to threaten my life. Cultivation was a heaven-defying act to begin with. So where was there ever such a thing as absolute safety? The fairness system I had built was, in the end, a wild system, far less heaven-defying than the kinds that could smooth over every difficulty. If I refused to fight and only ever hid in the shadows, my cultivation would inevitably crawl. And should some high-level cultivator ever stumble into binding a system, crack its secrets, and trace them back to me, it would all be over. I was racing the clock. I had to lift my cultivation and upgrade the system as fast as I could, while firming its foundation, so its secrecy and complexity could climb beyond anyone's easy reach. I told Satong that, if he did not mind, I would like to explore this secret realm alongside him when the time came, so we could watch each other's backs. A smile spread across his face, and he nodded his agreement. He said we should add each other on the system messenger so we could stay in touch. We did so on the spot. Outside the Nyeongso Immortal Cultivation Market, streams of light came down one after another and resolved into cultivators, who filed into the market in a long line. Satong pointed toward a valley in the distance. He said that was the Nyeongso Immortal Cultivation Market, and the whole valley lay under a formation. I should take care leaving it since robbery-minded cultivators often lurked outside, preying on those coming out. I nodded to show I had noted it and followed him in. The instant I stepped into the valley, the spiritual qi around me soared 60-fold. My field of vision opened wide onto a bustling street lined with shops on both sides. Cultivators came and went, some ducking into stores to buy magical artifacts, others heading out to resume their journeys. The whole scene humming with prosperity. Little Yellow fired off an excited message on the system messenger. The spiritual qi in the market was so dense, he wrote, that cultivating here must be far faster than outside. I answered quickly, warning him not to run around or start trouble. If he provoked someone powerful, I might not be able to save him. Then he would end up as dog meat hot pot, with no time left to regret it. He shrank his neck, fear crossing his face, and trailed obediently at my feet, not daring to stray a single step. Satong earned his name as the know-it-all, knowing the market inside out and narrating as we walked. Over there was where the loose cultivators set up their stalls. He pointed out where the goods ran half genuine and half fake and truly tested a buyer's eye. He said some people picked up treasures there and got rich, while others got fleeced and lost their shirts. Anyone meaning to buy had to sort the real from the false with care. I nodded and let my gaze rove across the loose cultivator stalls. They were heaped with ore, magical artifacts, secret manuals, spirit medicines, spirit pills, even fragments of magic treasures and stranger things, whose uses I could not begin to place. Then, with no warning at all, my spiritual sense jolted hard. My eyes snapped to a nearby stall, to a palm-sized shard of broken iron, marked over with black and white Tao patterns. I crouch at the stall and make a show of browsing. First I pick up a sword and turn it over like an idle buyer, and then I trade it for a saber and swing it a few times. Only then do my fingers close on that broken scrap of iron. The black and white Tao patterns crossing its surface carry a faint, mysterious Tao charm. Yet the thing is damaged past all recognition, and there's no telling what it once was. I do not dare prod it with true force here, since that would draw eyes I cannot afford. But some quiet instinct in me insists this ugly little shard matters. I ask the stall owner his price. His eyes light up and he names 100 low-grade spirit stones. Of course he does, because I look like a fresh newcomer ripe for the fleecing. I tell him the scrap is ruined beyond use, that nobody alive knows what it is, and that it is worth 1 low-grade spirit stone at the very most. He does not blink and holds the line at 10, not a fragment less. I set my counter at 1, tell him to take it or watch me walk, and I stand and brush off my robe. He caves before I take a second step, agreeing to 1. I almost feel bad for him. Almost. He had picked the scrap up by chance, felt only that it was oddly hard, and set it out to try his luck. It had sat on his stall for 3 full years while countless hands turned it over, and nobody ever made an offer. I am the first person to bid on it. He had wanted a killing and got a haggler instead. I flick a single low-grade spirit stone into his palm, and the shard is already in my storage space. 1. Clean motion. Seitong waves his white feather fan and says he had been sweating on my behalf the whole time. He had been certain I was about to take a beating on the price, only to discover I was some hidden master of the haggle. I wave the flattery off and tell him honestly that the scrap is wrecked, that I could not even guess its use and only bought it on a whim. A high price, I say, would have sent me walking. He nods, satisfied, and suggests we keep browsing. I agree, and the two of us walk deeper into the market side by side. The stalls keep glittering with magic treasures and spirit medicines throwing off their faint light, but nothing else tugs at me, so I sweep my gaze across them and keep moving toward the market's heart. Then I stop cold. A familiar, round little figure is standing at a shop entrance ahead. I never expected that more than a decade after we parted, I would run into John Dado here in the Nungso Immortal Cultivation Market. Dado was the first friend I made after I woke in this world, and he mattered to me. My swift foundation establishment breakthrough and my stretched lifespan both came partly through his help, and I still owe him over 100 spirit fragmentation stones I never paid back. Around Dado stands a cluster of people, and the heavenly revelation sects Saintess Ye Chung-sol and Saint Ye Rang stand out plainly among them. Satong catches me staring and grins, teasing that I have bumped into Ye Chung-sol again, and that it must be fate. After a stare this long, he says, I must have taken a liking to her. Then he warns me off, saying countless men chase her and that the Ye Rang at her side is one of them. He rattles off the man's resume like a walking dossier. A fire spiritual root, late golden core, a 6-striped golden core with hope of reaching 7 stripes someday. The man is a sure bet for the nascent soul realm in time, he says. A genuine genius-level cultivator. Nothing like Jung Sagi. So strong as I am, I should still tread carefully. I roll my eyes and tell him to rein in his imagination, that I have only spotted an old friend I have not seen in over a decade. He winks and says he understands completely, understands everything. He understands nothing. Ye Chung-sol turns her head toward us, her brows drawing together, and the rest of the group follows her gaze. Dado sees me, stunned for a beat, and then his whole face floods with joy. He barrels out of the crowd and runs at me, shouting that it really is me, that he had thought his eyes were playing tricks. I am grinning too, telling him it has been more than 10 years and congratulating him on his foundation establishment. He laughs from the belly, saying it is wonderful to see me again, that after we parted he had assumed we never would. He marvels that I managed foundation establishment under the crushing conditions of the mortal realm, calls it incredible, and I allow with some pride that I have reached a bit of minor achievement these days. Satong realizes his misread and goes red in the face. Ye Chung-sol looks surprised too, since she had assumed I was staring at her, not at Dado. And clearly the two of us go back a long way. Dado insists that a reunion this rare demands a meal and a long talk about the years between, and he tells me to wait while he says his goodbyes. Then he trots back toward Ye Chung-sol's people, still glowing. Satong leans in and murmurs that something has just come up and he must take his leave, that we should part here, and that I can reach him through the system messenger anytime. I raise my hands and salute, tell him I will keep his guidance in mind, and say we will meet again when the creation secret realm opens. Across the way, Ye Rang's brows knot hard. He tells Dado that his one job right now is to follow him and Ye Chung-sol, and serve them, not to go reminiscing with some friend. He sneers that a loose cultivator has no achievements worth the name, that they walk different roads, and that this is a pure waste of time. Before Dado can fire back, Ye Chung-sol speaks first, telling him that since he has run into a friend, he should go and catch up, that it makes no difference to them. Dado bows to her, his eyes brimming with gratitude, and thanks her for understanding. At this distance, every word reaches me as clearly as if it were spoken at my ear. I sweep a cold look over Yi Rang. The brat looks human enough, but that high, sneering posture turns my stomach. Give me the chance someday and I will beat the arrogance out of him, and let him taste how hard the world really is. Still, for all that Dado has cleared Foundation establishment, he sits near the bottom of this world, a shade stronger than an outer sect disciple and no more. He carried me plenty back when I had nothing, and now that I have a little weight of my own, this is the moment to return the favor. In a world that worships strength, strength is the only real argument, and Ye Riang can lecture from on high only because his aptitude and cultivation tower over Dado's. If I could lift Dado clean past Ye Riang in one leap and grind that pride underfoot, that would be a show worth waiting for. Just picturing it, I am already looking forward to it. A private room in a spirit food house inside the Nuongso Immortal Cultivation Market. Sandalwood smoke curling. Dado and I sit across from each other after more than a decade apart. The spirit wine clear, the spirit food fragrant, and over-traded cups we lay out the years. I tell my story honestly, but I keep the edges trimmed. Nothing about being the system master. Nothing about being the one who built the Dao Seed martial arts cultivation system. All of that stays buried. Deep as my friendship with Dado runs, the secret is too heavy, and the fewer mouths that hold it, the smaller the risk. If Little Yellow had not grown up at my side and been impossible to keep out of the system's making, I would not want even it to know a sliver of the truth. I already planned to derive a seal restriction to lock that memory away in Little Yellow, so it cannot leak, cannot be torn loose in a soul search, and stays whole regardless. Dado drains his cup and sighs that cultivation is a merciless road, that whoever falls behind gets culled. He knows his own aptitude is middling, and without resources, he fears he will only crawl. Even if he claws his way to the Golden Core realm, he says, breaking into the Nascent Soul would be harder than climbing into the sky. To fund his cultivation, he leaned on his knack for business and landed the shopkeeper's post at the Heavenly Revelations sect's shop, here in the market. The daily work is a tangle, he admits, but the side income is generous. I sigh too and give him the old truth, that drifting with the current keeps a man mortal, while cutting against it touches immortal ascension. Cultivation is a heaven-defying act by nature, I tell him, and to win it you have to be a little insane. Without the madness you will not dare to struggle, and you will never find the way out. Then I smile, tell him I have a rare opportunity here that is made for him, and hand over a system seed. Dado binds it instantly. He is curious, but he asks nothing, just binds it on pure trust. Seeing that unhesitating faith, after more than a decade apart, warms me, because his trust in me has not thinned in the slightest. Now that I have the means, this is the moment to pull my brother up. Moments later, his mouth falls open and he is babbling that this fairness system is flat-out heaven-defying, that no such divine thing should exist in the world. He fires off questions, whether the enlightenment space is truly that potent, whether the storage space really opens on nothing but energy points. He gapes that there is a messenger, a video feed, and a forum all inside it, that people can talk across any distance at will. I watch him come apart and feel none of it is strange. The system's functions really are that heaven-defying, and anyone would reel, myself included, since even I once could not believe I had built something this powerful. I eat slowly and let him claw through the features. Then he shouts that no wonder the sect's 100,000 freshly recruited outer sect disciples have been cultivating at a terrifying clip, that they have been riding the system all along. He marvels that the old foxes hid it so well, that they kept it quiet with that many people in on it. He groans that energy points are murder to earn, that he is dirt poor in dying of it, or he would have tried every last function. He turns to me, his face full of gratitude, saying that without me, he does not know when he would ever have gotten a system. The people of this world keep their lips sealed, he says, and never leaked a word. I tell him there is no need for courtesy between us, that the system is spreading through the mortal realm now and he would have come to it sooner or later. Then I suggest we add each other on the system messenger to stay in contact. We add each other at once. Then I quietly transfer 1 billion energy points straight to him. It looks enormous, but to me now it is a drop in the sea, earned back in a breath. Dado rushes over and throws his arms around my leg, howling that I am his grandfather, his very own grandfather, that he yearns so badly to make progress. I freeze, caught between laughing and groaning. He is exactly the same Dado, not one thing changed in 10-odd years, still shameless to the bone. I tell him to let go so we can talk like people. He laughs and lets go, but inside he is rattled. Having just bound the system and skimmed the forum and the video feed, he knows exactly how precious energy points are. He protests that he truly cannot take so many, that it is far too valuable. I wave it away and remind him how much he helped me when I was scraping bottom, that I still owe him over 100 spirit fragmentation stones even now. I told him long ago that I would repay him once I made it, I say. And these 1 billion energy points are just that old promise kept. He should stop refusing, because to me they are a drop in the sea. His face goes serious and grateful, and he says he will remember the favor. He is genuinely short on energy points and will shamelessly accept, he says, and whenever I need him, I only have to say the word. Little Yellow had been curled in the corner working through its own spirit food, but the moment Dotto tackled my leg and screamed grandfather at the ceiling, its eyes went round his plates. Its jaw all but hit the floor, and its whole worldview cracked open like it had stumbled onto a new continent. Dotto notices the beast's stunned face and laughs, ribbing that my spirit pet looks a bit dim and telling it to come and call him Brother John. Little Yellow fires back without mercy that he is the dim one, that his whole family is dim. It has never met anyone so shameless, and has genuinely learned something today, though it admits he is actually pretty entertaining. Dotto's face heats, but he recovers fast, explaining that he was only joking around with me and that the beast would not get it, then proposing they add each other on the system messenger too. The two of them add each other. I watch Dog and Lone Shark link up, and my brow tightens. With these two thick as thieves, are they going to cook up some kind of trouble? Unease crawls through me, but I shake it off, because unreliable as the pair look, both come through when it actually counts. I tell Dotto that his 3 spiritual roots aptitude is not top tier on the cultivation path, and I suggest he simply switch over to the Tao Seed martial arts cultivation system. It has only reached the Tao Seed realm so far, I admit, but its ceiling is limitless, and it might suit him better. He thinks it over and shakes his head gently, thanking me for the kindness, but saying cultivation has been his dream since childhood. He is now an inner sect disciple of the Heavenly Revelation sect, running a shop, he adds, so switching really is not convenient. With the system and the energy points I have given him, he says, he refuses to believe he will end up behind anyone on the cultivation road. I nod approving, and tell him he is right, that with enough energy points he can climb fast either way. Then my eyes narrow, and I run the numbers inwardly. The method for building an artificial heavenly spiritual root is nearly derived, and once I break into the next realm, I can start trying to forge one. If it works, Dotto's cultivation talent could be rewritten wholesale. And beyond him, everyone in this world could one day own an artificial heavenly spiritual root, and everyone would be a genius. The ones who lord over the rest on the strength of a natural heavenly spiritual root would tumble off their high seats, and then there would be a fine show to watch. Dotto smacks his forehead and blurts that he nearly forgot that the Nyungso auction opens tonight, packed with treasures, and that he happens to hold an entry slot. He asks whether I want to come along and take in the sights, since I might stumble on something I need. I spread my hands and own my poverty without shame, saying I have only 99 low-grade spirit stones left and the auction will not take energy points. I would just be gawking, I admit, though gawking would broaden my horizons. Back at the Heavenly Revelation sect, I was so poor I could have coughed blood, and 99 low-grade spirit stones counts as rich by that measure. Dotto waves grandly and offers to hand me 1,000 low-grade spirit stones outright. I shake my head and decline, thanking him but saying I have nothing urgent to buy, and only want to look to widen my eyes. I walk out of the auction genuinely broadened. There are simply too many obscenely rich people in this world, and only the bottom-rung cultivators are poor. The big names spend spirit stones without a flicker, extravagance past all reason. It itches at me, and for a moment I even entertain turning rogue and robbing them. Reason snuffs the thought as fast as it flares, because these people sit at the spirit transformation realm or above, and I am not certain my current strength matches that. So I choose prudence over capsizing in a gutter. I stand at the mouth of the Nyungso Immortal Cultivation Market, glance back, shake my head, and turn to go. This world still runs on spirit stones, and I carry few, so however fine the wares I can only stare, and nothing here truly moved me anyway. Better to find a quiet place, seal myself in, and cultivate until the creation secret realm opens. I take Little Yellow, turn into a streak of light, and fly for Nyungso City. Not far past the market, a cold gleam and a shrieking whine shoot up from below, and 4 figures blur in like ghosts to pin me from the 4 directions. My heart jumps, and I know at once they are rogue cultivators. I do not hesitate. I clench my fists and drive the 5 elements fist, The force surges out like a dragon breaking from the deep, carrying the 5 elements in mutual generation and restraint as it slams into the incoming flying sword. Fist and sword meet, and the recoil roars out in rings that could tear the void realm, hurling the flying sword back. Its owner takes the backlash, spits blood, and shouts for the others to be careful, that the target is tough. 4 golden core cultivators daring to rob me are simply begging to die. Cold-voiced without shifting an inch, I throw 4 punches at the 4 of them at once. The force whistles out with the power to split sky and earth, shatters their spiritual energy shields, and tears their bodies apart, killing them where they stand. Then I use controlling the crane and capturing the dragon, drawing the scattered spirit stones and spirit medicine into my palm. The count comes to 2,201 low-grade spirit stones, 15 medium-grade spirit stones, over a dozen spirit medicine, and a few bottles of medicinal pill. Not a bad haul. My thanks to nature for the gift. I pull the flying sword in with a casual tug, tuck it into my storage space, and turn for Numso City. Only now does Little Yellow catch up, exclaiming that those were rogue cultivators and all 4 sat at the Golden Core realm. They were just unlucky to cross master, it says, since anyone else would have been in real danger. I take the chance to lecture it, saying the cultivation road is thick with danger everywhere, so it needs to work harder. Otherwise, one day it will meet something it cannot fight, and end up caught and stewed into dog meat hot pot. Little Yellow feels the cruelty of it, and nods hard, promising to cultivate diligently. A quarter hour after I left, 6 figures dropped onto the site of the fight. They leaned over a head left on the ground, its eyes flung wide, its face frozen in terror, the look of a man who died full of grievances. Their leader named the corpses the Black Wolf Quartet, robbers who had preyed on cultivators around the Newingzo market for ages, hunted a long time and never caught. He marveled that they had died here today, that whoever they had crossed had finished them without letting them lift a hand, and he could not guess who. He scanned for other clues, found none, and waved for the corpses to be cleared away. I enter Newingzo City, find an imposing inn, and take a high-end room. Inside, I weave several strands of spiritual light into hand seals, and a 5 elements defense formation blooms across the room. I sit cross-legged on the bed, cradle the mysterious iron shard in my palm, and pour true force into it. Nothing. The shard sits like a stubborn stone, dead to the touch. My brow furrows, my gaze dims, and after a moment I close my eyes. My divine sense reaches out thin as gossamer, and begins to read the black and white Tao patterns woven through the shard. With a thought I link into the subsystem computing power matrix, and set it deducing and dissecting those patterns. Time passes quietly, and an unfathomable aura fills the sealed room. It seems to hold the secret of life and death trading places, the reincarnation of all things. And it makes the heart tremble. Black and white light of the law flickers around me, first like a firefly's glow. As the deduction deepens, it swells into 2 spiraling vortices of reincarnation, like a pair of yin and yang fish, breathing out a soul-snaring pressure. Little Yellow, sprawled lazily on the floor, sees the strange phenomenon rising around me, and its eyes go wide. The flowing light seems to carry the power to devour souls, and it tugs at Little Yellow's own. Little Yellow gasps in terror, spins away, and does not dare look at me again, quailing inwardly at what kind of terrifying law its master has grasped, since one glance nearly dragged its soul loose. For a long while the light recedes like an ebbing tide. When I open my eyes, the phantom of a chaos world turns in the depths of my pupils. I let a long breath go, and wild joy climbs the corners of my mouth despite me. I finally understand why my spiritual perception howled at that scrap of iron. The black and white patterns on it are the Tao patterns of the Great Tao of Reincarnation. The Great Tao of Reincarnation is one of the core Great Tao laws that build a world. A world with it and a world without it differ vastly in potential, and only a world holding the Great Tao of Reincarnation is truly complete. Without it, a world stays broken, able only to delay its slide into the immeasurable kalpa and postpone its own destruction. I have grasped just a sliver of it, but a sliver is enough for now. Once you are through the door of the Great Tao of Reincarnation, you can keep perfecting it with your own comprehension ability. Little Yellow creeps closer, wide-eyed, asking what Great Tao law is so powerful that one look while I was comprehending nearly hauled its soul out of its body. I slip the shard into my storage space and answer flatly that it is the Great Tao of Reincarnation. The beast startles hard, because that is a top-tier Great Tao law, and its master has just grasped another one. It thinks of how it has not even brushed the edge of the great Tao of devouring, while I already command over 2,000 great Tao laws, and the gap feels bottomless. It congratulates me on comprehending the great Tao of reincarnation and says I will have the chance to master reincarnation itself someday. I nod gently, smile, and tell it to work harder and push for the Tao Seed Realm soon. Jin State, the Immortal Residence Hall. The new state protecting Immortal Master Wang Gyeonsan had thrown himself into bitter cultivation from the day he took the post from Jong Sagi, and now his long seclusion had finally ended. He meant to rest a little before sealing himself away again, but the words Jong Sagi had spoken during the handover suddenly surfaced in his mind. Jong Sagi had told him that being state-protecting Immortal Master did not mean burying himself in the hall grinding away every day. He ought to go out and walk around, Jong Sagi had said, and perhaps he would find something new. Wang Gyeonsan paused, reconsidered, and decided to take a stroll. Out on the capital's streets, Wang Gyeonsan was startled to find the mortal realm far more prosperous than he remembered. Strange vehicles moved along the roads, looking at once like machines and like magical artifacts. More shocking still, everyone on the street, old or young, man or woman, carried a healthy flush and real cultivation, and even the children practiced martial arts. It ran flat against common sense, and he wondered what secret hid beneath it. Doubt gathered in him, and he asked himself whether this was exactly why Jong Sagi had told him to go out more. After some digging, he finally traced every change back to the fairness system, and when he bound himself to the system too, its power left him reeling. He understood now why Jong Sagi had spoken the way he had, that the man had been handing him a hint. That Yuil's strength was simply too terrifying, he thought. Here was a man who could pin Jong Sagi with a single palm and who had held first place on the Tao Seed Realm combat power ranking for years. Jong Sagi sat at late golden core and could only manage 2,895th, a gulf so wide that in time he would surely be squeezed off the ranking entirely. Wang Gyeonsan regretted not listening sooner and coming to the mortal world earlier, feeling he had wasted so much time for nothing. Cultivators had been cut off from the mortal realm too long, he realized, blind to the earth-shaking changes below. And one day, they might even be overtaken by it. He forced the churning thoughts down and opened the forum, only to find its trending list topped by a post shouting that a cultivation technique for restoring bodily defects had appeared in the system mall. His breath caught, his body trembled, and he clicked straight in. In the clip, an honest-faced man introduced himself as Yang Pyong. His left arm had been crippled in childhood, useless no matter how many famous doctors he sought. After the system appeared, he had waited for a technique that could restore the body, trying many healing methods over the years to little effect. Then, a little over 20 days ago, he found the marrow cleansing nirvana technique. He had practiced it half expecting nothing, and yet within 10-odd days his arm recovered sharply, and by now it had returned fully to normal. He said he was too excited not to share the news, and he hoped everyone with bodily defects could find a new life through it. Wang Gyeonsan's heart nearly leapt out of his chest, because he too carried an unspeakable hidden ailment. Once his only hope had been to cultivate to some high realm and reshape his body, or to find a potent medicinal pill to mend it. For a man with no background and limited aptitude, that had been far too much to ask. Now the marrow cleansing nirvana technique had appeared and handed his hope back. He opened the comment section, and it overflowed with awe and thanks. One person swore a childhood crippled leg had healed clean, and another felt the stump of a severed finger tingle as if a new one were budding. All of it, they marveled, cost a mere 100 energy points. Wang Gyeonsan could not hold still. He summoned his flying sword and tore for the Immortal Residence Hall, desperate to start practicing at once and finally resolve the ailment of years. The topic kept fermenting. Countless people with bodily defects were moved to tears, spending energy points to redeem the marrow cleansing nirvana technique and beginning to practice. Watching the technique's results, I let out a long, heavy breath and let a satisfied smile settle in. For this one technique, I blended and deduced the law of life against dozens of recovery-type laws. I spent several years simplifying the practice, compressing something that should have taken decades to master into a method that shows results fast. I had meant at first to give it to the world for free, then remembered that what comes too easily is never treasured. So I set a token threshold of 100 energy points, an amount any system holder gathers in a few days. Then I tell Little Yellow it is time to go, that we are headed to Creation Mountain to prepare for the Creation Secret Realm. I reach down and pat its head, waking it from a dead sleep. It answers groggily, shakes itself, stands, and trails me out of the room. Creation Mountain rises tall and grand under swirling cloud. I take Little Yellow and fly to the spot I had agreed on with Satang. The moment we land, I tell Satang I am sorry to have kept him waiting, and he laughs that he only just arrived himself. I look around at slopes and flats crowded with golden core cultivators, more streaking in from every direction, a genuinely spectacular sight. I remark that I have never seen so many golden core cultivators in one place, that in the mortal realm you can barely spot a foundation establishment cultivator on an ordinary day. Satang explains that they are the golden core experts the great schools and cultivating families have stockpiled over centuries, plus loose cultivators like us. For the golden core realm, the creation secret realm is a massive opportunity, he says, so anyone not in seclusion is come. He points out several clusters in the distance, the saint and saintess of the heavenly revelation sect, whom I already know, and beside them the Chung Heo sect Saint Go Gyung Hong and Saintess Baek Ri. Over there stand the fire god sect Saint Yuk Young Hong and Saintess Cho Ryong Seo. He says, and the Son Yeop sect's people as well. I quietly admire him. Satang lives up to the name they give him, the know-it-all, because to hold the situation of every school this clearly and lay it out so cleanly, he is a rare talent. I find a rock nearby and sit to wait for the creation secret realm to open. My gaze drifts over the assembled golden core cultivators, each saint and saintess wrapped in an extraordinary air, ringed by disciples like stars around the moon. Next to them I stand like an ant, utterly unremarkable, all but invisible. But a smile flickers in my eyes. With the system spreading everywhere and the artificial heavenly spiritual root breaking through, this world's whole order is about to turn over. These usually high and mighty favorites of heaven may not have it so easy much longer. The saying goes that the saint and saintess seats rotate, that this year the turn falls to my family, and before now those with poor aptitude had no chance at all. Give them artificial heavenly spiritual roots and the aptitude gap closes, and I would wager plenty of people are already dreaming of dragging their own saints and saintesses down and taking the seats for themselves. At first light the next morning, a spatial gate ringed in silver tears open in the sky. Someone bellows that the creation secret realm has appeared, and that everyone should charge, and in an instant, countless golden core cultivators become streams of light scrambling for the gate. Satang calls for me to go in too. I answer and slip Little Yellow into the specially made pet space, then flash after Satang through the gate. Crossing it, light and shadow flicker across my eyes, and when everything settles, I stand in a new world steeped in the aura of the creation law. I sweep the surroundings warily, finding nothing but sky-blotting ancient trees, no sign of a person or an exotic beast. It is so silent I can hear my own breathing, and it seems the realm scattered everyone at random. The creation aura is dense enough to stagger me, and I have dropped straight into the creation law region, a law I have not yet comprehended, which is genuine luck. I draw a deep breath, and the spiritual chi comes rich with the aura of creation, so I feel instantly clearer. The world seeds inside me throbbing hard as if they crave this particular chi. I circulate the martial scripture and turn into a black hole for spiritual chi. The creation-laden chi pours in and refines fast, and I split my attention three ways: devouring chi, watching my surroundings, and linking my divine sense to the system. Once I confirm the system's link to the outside is holding, I tie my divine sense into the subsystem computing power matrix and start deducing the creation law here. Before I can sink deep into it, the ground shudders. My noisy chi absorption has drawn an elephant-like exotic beast over. The instant I see it, my eyes light because this is perfect. More luck. I move like lightning, flash above its skull, and unleash the five elements fist. The five elements grind and annihilate as they slam into the top of its head. This early-stage golden core beast has no power to resist, dissolving on the spot into heaven and earth spiritual chi and creation aura. A rice-sized law crystal of creation is left behind, and I catch it in my hand. So, this is a law crystal, I think. Turning it over. So small. I circulate my cultivation technique and start refining it. A force of the creation law surges in along my meridians, meaning to temper my body and energy. But the moment it enters, it is devoured whole by the 129,600 world seeds, and a flood of information carrying the creation law's mysteries pours into my consciousness. I had assumed even a law crystal would demand slow comprehension, and I had not expected the world seeds to work such a miracle. Could it be that if I simply gather enough law crystals, I can comprehend the great Tao laws without meditating on them at all? But I shake the thought off fast, because exotic beasts are limited and I cannot stake everything on luck. Only comprehending the laws myself deepens the understanding and speeds the mastery. I keep moving, absorbing chi, and comprehending law while I watch for the next beast, rising and diving, sometimes soaring, sometimes skimming the forest. But a full hour of flight turns up not one beast and not one person. The realm is simply too vast, and this single creation law region alone is staggeringly large. The realm shuts in a month, and I still have several hundred uncomprehended Great Dao law regions to find, plus the matching Great Dao exotic beasts to hunt and kill. Even without sleep or rest, I doubt I could finish. I frowned, think it over, and release Little Yellow from the pet space. It comes out marveling at the density of the heaven and earth spiritual chi and the wonderful aura threaded through it, saying that absorbing it leaves it comfortable all over. I confirm this is the creation law region and ask whether it can find traces of exotic beasts. It says it can try but cannot promise, then turns serious, its nose twitching as it sniffs the air. Then its eyes flare and it bolts toward the front left, calling for me to come quick, that it thinks it has found one. I follow. A quarter hour later, a 5-meter beast like a giant ox stands before us, and I read it at once as middle stage golden core and shout for Little Yellow to fall back. As the words leave me, I thrust my palm, and a 10-meter 5-colored giant palm rips into being, seizing at the beast like thunder. The beast lets out a heaven-shaking roar, cold light glinting on the horns of its head, and it rams the giant palm head-on. The collision shockwave blasts out and grinds the nearby towering trees to powder. The 5-colored palm carries the weight to press down sky and earth, and it slaps the beast flat to the ground, pinned and roaring, unable to move. I do not kill it yet. I spread my divine sense and look closely. It seems built of flesh and blood, but it is really a knot of energy with a law crystal at its core, mindless, running on pure instinct. I loose a stream of sword chi and open its flesh, and no blood comes, only surging energy. When I dig out the soybean-sized law crystal, the beast breaks into a brilliant rain of light and scatters, leaving only dense ripples of energy. Little Yellow gapes at the crystal, flashing with Great Dao radiance in my hand, and asks if that is a law crystal. I tell it yes, that it has done a great service. I promise that when we reach the devouring law region, I will kill a few more beasts, so it can comprehend the great Dao of devouring before it reaches the Dao seed realm. I refine the creation law crystal, and the moment the creation force enters, it is devoured by the world seeds again. Obscure and profound creation law information flooding my mind. The beast thanks me and jumps about, its fur bristling with excitement, then hauls in a deep breath, its nose working fast as it reads the sense again. Before long, it lifts its head, its eyes sharp, calling out a new find, and this way, and it is gone forward as an afterimage before its voice fades. I do not hesitate, and I flash after it. Little Yellow's ears stand straight as it scans the ground, guarding me close, not straying a single step, playing my protector. I sit cross-legged, eyes shut, already sunken in epiphany. Wisps of creation law light spill off me, faint as fireflies at first, then in a blink a brilliant galaxy. The circling creation light is like the spiritual glow that nurtured all things when heaven and earth first split. It draws the energy of heaven and earth into me like 100 rivers rushing to the sea, all of it devoured and refined. Then the light drains away completely. Across the 129,600 world seeds inside me, a brand new creation law pattern has surfaced. The seeds erupt with dazzling chaos-colored brilliance, and within it the light of over 2,000 great Dao laws weaves and flickers. The once perfectly round seeds grow more lustrous, and the chaos space inside them expands with a rolling roar, vaster and more boundless than before. After some unmeasured time, I open my eyes, a smile tugging my lips. Thanks to Little Yellow's help, I slew 5 exotic beasts in a row inside 2 hours, and comprehended a sliver of the creation law. Comprehending it this fast owed not only to the law crystals, but to my own comprehension ability and the subsystem computing power matrix. Otherwise, I would likely have needed several more creation law crystals to stand a chance. I tell Little Yellow it did well, and that we need to leave the creation law region for the next one. I will tuck it into the pet space first, I say, and let it out again when we reach a great Dao law region I have not comprehended. There are 2 reasons to put it away. First, its flying speed is too slow, and the realm's open time is short, so I cannot waste it on travel. Second, if I bring it into the next region, the creation law threads will tangle it and double the gravity it bears. At only the peak of the divine sea realm, its strength is limited, good for a few law regions at most before it can no longer help hunt. By stowing it now, I want to test whether I can exploit a loophole and trigger a bug that spares it the tangling in the doubled gravity. It does not quite follow the plan, but it nods and agrees obediently. I raise a hand, a gentle light wraps it, and it is in the pet space. My gaze sweeps like a torch. I fix the direction, and I shoot skyward as a stream of light toward the crystal wall that divides the law regions. After an unmeasured flight, I stop. Ahead, a crystalline transparent wall climbs from the ground into the clouds, sealing the two regions apart. I send my divine sense against it, trying to read its structure, but however I press, I cannot reach its secret. Time waits for no one, so I give up on the wall's mystery. Without hesitating, my aura surges, and I throw a right fist carrying the power to wreck heaven and earth. And where it passes, space trembles, and the crystal wall tears open into a 3-meter passage. I flash through like a phantom and step into the next law region. Inside, my body suddenly sinks, then rights itself. I focus and sense wisps of creation law threads coiling my body like spirit snakes, trying to drag me back to the region behind me. I bear doubled gravity now, but my expression does not shift, since this much cannot touch the exertion of my strength, and the true force circling me stays smooth and effortless. I grasp a cluster of spiritual chi and read the region's law attributes, and it does not take long to name it a metal law region. I sigh, a little rueful, because I comprehended the metal law long ago. A law crystal here could round it out, but time is tight and there is no real point, so I have to press to the next region. What law waits there is a blind box I can only trust to luck. My gaze forks like lightning and locks a direction, and I streak toward the next region's crystal wall as a lingering shadow. Then a deafening roar splits the air. Dust churns ahead as an exotic beast fully 20 meters tall, built like a colossal reptile, tramples over rock and stone straight at me. A terrifyingly golden core aura wreathes it, violent killing intent rolling in its crimson vertical pupils, grass and trees crushed to powder in its wake. My brows lift in surprise, since I had not expected one to come to my door the very moment I stopped hunting. My thanks to nature for the gift. I do not hesitate. I flick through my movement technique, appear before it in a blink, and unleash the 5 elements fist. The 5 elements generate and restrain one another and erupt with world-ending force at the beast. And in that instant, the firmament changes color, and the air screams with sonic cracks under the pressure. A streak of 5-colored light tears the void realm and blasts the beast apart, its body disintegrating inch by inch into a sky of brilliant rain that fades. Only a glass bead-sized law crystal is left, shedding sharp golden light as it falls. I catch it and begin refining the metal law crystal, and in a blink, the world seeds devour it. The metal law patterns on them grow clearer and more solid as obscure metal law information surges into me like a tide. Just then, an arrogant shout comes from the distance, telling me to stop and put down the law crystal. Before the words fade, a flying sword flashing cold light breaks the air like a falling star, driving straight at my head with monstrous killing intent. Its sword sheath slicing the air into trailing cracks. Cold light kindles in my eyes, and killing intent fills me. Someone actually daring to snatch from my hands is simply courting death. I have always kept clear of trouble, and I had not expected to be targeted today. I cast a 5-colored divine light that nets the incoming sword, and in a blink I swallow it into my divine ability space. A moment later, a man in Sion Hyopsek disciples' robes flies over, sinister-eyed spiritual power churning around him, glaring down at me full of threat. He demands to know how I dared disobey when he told me to stop, and where I have taken his flying sword. I look back at him with ice in my eyes and ask who he thinks he is, daring to command me, and tell him he is simply courting death. I feel a deep disgust for people who are arrogant, who believe the whole world owes them service, who expect everyone to obey. On top of that, this one just tried to ambush me with a flying sword. A fierce glint lights my eyes. My murderous intent thickens in the air like something solid, and my figure becomes an afterimage. As I burst out, I throw a punch, the 5 elements spinning in reverse across my fist, erupting with world-ending power at him. He shouts that he is Li Rang, a core disciple of the Sion Hyob sect, that no mere loose cultivator dares lay a hand on him, and his face goes white at the force rushing him. He cries out and retreats fast, his hands flashing through seals, and dense earthen spikes shoot from the ground, followed by a thick earthen wall rising to shield him. Surprise flickers in me. Arrogant and domineering as this Li Rang is, his reactions are quick, worthy of a core disciple the Sion Hyob sect raised with care. But as far as I am concerned, no matter which sect a prodigy belongs to, anyone who provokes me has only one road left, and that road is death. My figure flickers like a ghost, slips the earthen spikes in a blink, and appears at the wall, and I smash down a fist of world-ending power that blows the wall open like paper. The overbearing force tears through Li Rang's spiritual shield and slams his protective armor, and in the blast he spits blood and flies back, crashing into the ground in a body-shaped crater. His organs are shattered. He looks up at me in terror and begs weakly for his life. My gaze stays cold, and I turn a deaf ear. In my view, you do not chatter after a fight starts, and only a fully dead enemy is a good enemy. I swing a killing punch without hesitation, past the armor and straight into his head, and it bursts, and he dies on the spot. I confirm it is his real body, and truly dead, then look warily around. Sure that no one is watching, I strip the ruined armor and stuff it into my storage space, then fish a jade bottle from his robes holding 3 rejuvenation pills. A dignified core disciple of the Seonyeob sect carries only this much? I click my tongue, pocket the medicinal pill, search the rest of his robes, and turn up nothing. So I spit and mutter that he is a poor wretch, that even looting the corpse disappoints. In truth, I have misjudged him, because who carries a pile of spirit stones and odds and ends into the creation secret realm? Without a storage treasure, those things are just dead weight, so it is smarter to carry healing medicinal pill. I strike down a palm, and Li Rang's corpse bursts into blood mist. Then I draw the cold, gleaming flying sword from the 5-colored Divine Light's divine ability space, its body graven with runes, shimmering ghost blue in the sun. A low-grade spiritual artifact, I judge, good enough for now. I weigh it, smile, and drop the spoils into my storage space, then toe the ground and fly for the crystal wall, eager for the next law region. A passage cracks open in the crystal wall, and a stream of light shoots out, and I pass through into a fresh law region. As I land, a heavy pressure strikes and another metal law thread wraps me. But I adapt fast. My body has been tempered thousands of times, its toughness far past what ordinary people imagine. It likely surpasses even a spirit transformation realm cultivators, so this much gravity barely touches my strength. I grasp a cluster of spiritual chi and sense the region's great Tao laws. And unlike any I have met, the law aura threading the chi faintly carries a quality that quickens wisdom. Inspiration flashes and my eyes light. Could this be the Wisdom Tao? If it is, that would be wonderful, since comprehending the Wisdom Tao would sharply raise my comprehension ability and hugely benefit the system and the enlightenment space. With a thought, I release Little Yellow and tell it to sense carefully whether the gravity on it has risen. It shakes itself, its big floral pants swaying, and shouts that there is no change at all, that it feels exactly like when we first entered the creation law region. My eyes light because the bug really works. I tell it that is great and to hurry and find the exotic beasts in this region. It answers, lowers its head, and sniffs the ground, and after a while its eyes light and it shouts for me to follow. This way, quick. It runs off in one direction, and I hurry after. We have not run far before a goat-like exotic beast appears, but to my surprise, the instant it catches sight of me, it does not attack. Instead, it wheels and bolts. Every beast before this charged, yet this one knows to flee. I watch its retreating back, and a thought crosses me whether it has grown intelligence. Then again, a beast in a wisdom law region developing a mind is not strange. I shove the thought aside, because mind or no mind, what I want is the law crystal, and I absolutely cannot let it get away. Trying to slip off? Did it ask my fist first? I close the gap like lightning and swing the 5 elements fist. The beast does not even manage a cry before it bursts into a sky of brilliant rain and scatters, leaving a rice grain law crystal shimmering pale gold with the power of the Wisdom Tao. I beckon, and the Wisdom Law crystal flies to my palm, and I refine it. The vast wisdom law surges in and is swallowed by the world's seeds, and mysterious wisdom law information rises in me. My mind clears at once, my comprehension ability seeming greatly lifted, though the wonderful feeling is fleeting and gone by the time I steady. After a flicker of disappointment, excitement kindles. From a single rice grain crystal, I have felt how enormously the wisdom law lifts my comprehension ability. I turn and shout for Little Yellow to keep moving and find the next beast. It shakes its fluffy ears and sprints front left, its tail trailing an afterimage, its floral pants swaying hard. We have not run far when the sounds of battle roll from ahead, one after another, closer and closer. The battle sounds ahead swell. I stop short, my eyes scanning the source warily, my face thoughtful, and I tell Little Yellow we should find somewhere to hide first. Just then a charming cry for help comes, a woman calling herself Bakery of the Chongheo sect. begging the fellow ahead to help her block the exotic beasts. I look, and a beautiful woman in green robes is fleeing in a sorry state, her jade hairpin knocked crooked, her hem gray with dust, 12 exotic beasts pressing her with unbroken attacks. So it is the Chungheo sect saintess, Bakery. Surprise crosses me as I watch her run my way while fending them off. It seems the beasts in the Wisdom Law region really have grown minds, knowing to gang up on intruding cultivators. I tell Little Yellow we cannot hide from this one, and to run further off and not get hurt. It gives me a worried look, then turns and runs swiftly away. Bakery, seeing that I do not flee but hold my ground, catches hope, and cries in a delicate voice for me to strike and help. She promises that once we are out of the creation's secret realm, she will reward me richly. No problem, I tell her with a smile, that she should come over and we will join forces to kill them, but my gaze stays locked tight on her and the beast pack. Just as joy breaks over her face and she throws everything into running to me, I turn cold and raise my hand, unleashing a great 5 elements destruction divine light. The 5-colored light braids into a torrent of ruin carrying an aura to wreck heaven and earth, and it drives straight at Bakery. Her smile freezes, her eyes fill with terror and disbelief, and before she can react at all, she is annihilated by the divine light, turned to flying ash on the air. Only a tattered scrap of green robe drifts down, and a medium-grade spirit sword falls to the ground. I sneer, disdain in my eyes. I have no taste for that sweet, helpless act. I had seen through Bakery's scheme long ago that she meant to use my hands to hold off the 12 golden core exotic beasts and buy herself an opening to run. 4 peak golden core, 3 late golden core, and 5 middle stage golden core beasts. A lineup like that might overwhelm even 2 peak golden core cultivators working together. Not knowing my strength, why would Bakery ever stay and fight them beside me? The 12 beasts, thrown by the sudden turn, halt their assault as one, their eyes full of confusion and astonishment. They tilt their heads to size up the scene, plainly unable to grasp why this 2-legged beast suddenly killed its own kind. Little Yellow, hidden in the distance, is more dumbfounded still, its eyes wide, its mouth open, its tail forgotten, unable to believe I had erased the woman who had just cried for help. I hook a finger, and the medium-grade spirit sword drops into my palm. My aura surges, I pour massive true force into the blade, and I slash a peak golden core beast. The sword light breaks the air with surging sword chi and splits the beast clean in two, and it scatters into brilliant rain without a trace, leaving a walnut-sized wisdom law crystal behind. The remaining 11 beasts flare scarlet and lunge, their killing intent gone solid. The lead peak golden core one's fangs flash cold, its claws shrieking through the air while the pack behind loosely forms an encircling formation. I tap my toes into a phantom and slip the whistling claws, my blade trading blows with the pack, the whole area ringing with roars and clashing metal. The violent energy rips past like a hurricane, snapping trees and shattering boulders, hurling soil and gravel dozens of feet high, turning everything within 100 feet to ruins in an instant. I shuttle through the pack like a ghost, the spirit sword a dragon breaking from the sea, sword chi crossing everywhere. In a blink, a middle-stage golden core beast's throat is pierced and it dissolves into rain. Then another late-stage golden core beast is split in half. In moments, all 11 have fallen, 11 shimmering law crystals scattered on the ground. I scan warily, confirm no other cultivators or beasts lurk, and lift my hand to draw the 12 pale golden wisdom law crystals into my palm. I tuck the spirit sword into my storage space, flash to Little Yellow, grab it, and race off the battlefield at speed. Little Yellow shakes its head and asks with great curiosity why I killed a woman as pretty as Bakery just like that, warning me that at this rate I will never find a partner. I slap its head, tell it irritably to read more and think more, instead of forever scrolling the video feed in the forum. Bakery meant to make me her scapegoat, I say, and it could not even see it. Besides, I add, beautiful women only slow down my sword draw. It teases, its tail wagging, its eyes full of mischief. That master says one thing and means another, that I look at beautiful women more eagerly than anyone. I slap its head again and tell it that is artistic appreciation, and only it harbors impure thoughts. Then I land, form seals fast, and raise a 5 elements defense formation around us. I sit cross-legged on a rock and tell it solemnly that I am going into seclusion to refine the law crystals and comprehend the great Tao of wisdom, and that it is to guard me. It straightens at once, its round eyes sweeping the surroundings, its tail tensed, watching every movement. I link my divine sense to the subsystem computing power matrix, and circulate my cultivation technique to refine the 12 wisdom law crystals. At first, only faint law light floats around me like fireflies in the dark, flickering in and out. But as time passes, the light refines, the pale gold halo surging and gathering, condensing towards substance. The wisdom law's brilliance wraps me like golden silk, great Tao runes surfacing and vanishing, breathing an extraordinary air. Little Yellow, guarding at my side, suddenly shivers, its thoughts snapping clear as if an unseen force were scouring its mind bright. It shakes its head, joy flashing, amazed at simply being near its master hands at such a wonderful boost. My sea of consciousness surges without end, countless great Tao truths flashing through me, the wise distinguishing right from wrong and discerning the essence of all things. A brilliant light of wisdom erupts from me, then retracts fast, and across the 129,600 world seeds, a brand new wisdom law pattern surfaces. I feel my comprehension ability greatly lifted, inspiration welling from every direction. But this place is no spot for a long stay, and I have to hurry to find regions with laws I have not comprehended. So I record every scrap of inspiration first. I open my eyes, brilliance flashing, let out a long breath, and tell myself it is time for the next law region. By now, the Chongheo sect had been thrown into an uproar over the death of its saintess, Baek Ri. They had even dispatched a spirit transformation realm expert, Zhong Myong, to Creation Mountain to hunt the killer. Time flew, and in a blink half a month passed. In it I had already crossed 2002 law regions. My progress in the Great Tao Law is gratifying. I command 2,999 Great Tao Laws now, needing only one more to complete the 3,000 Great Tao Laws. After that, I can start working toward a breakthrough to the next realm. I have sat in the Tao Seed realm several years, and many cultivators behind me have reached it too. If I cannot break past the Tao Seed realm and create the next realm, the whole road of the Tao Seed martial arts cultivation system stalls. In truth, I long ago worked out the cultivation method for the next realm, the Tao manifestation realm, but I have not spread it. I have kept it off the system all mainly because, among the current Tao Seed martial arts system cultivators, no one but me has passed the middle stage of the Tao Seed realm. Uploading it would be useless, and I could not find suitable test subjects even if I wanted them. Beyond that, I never intended to. If I pushed it out rashly and something went wrong, every system host would grow wary of the Tao Seed martial arts cultivation system. Then, not only would my hope of becoming a Tao ancestor collapse, my goal of surpassing the immortal cultivation system would vanish too, a loss far past the gain. For all these reasons, the Tao manifestation realm can only be tried by me first. And with my strength, I do not expect any real mishap. I slap the exotic beast in front of me dead, and Little Yellow rushes in like lightning to grab the devouring law crystal. It reports that it now holds 13 devouring law crystals. With the 15 it used before and the help of the enlightenment space, it is confident it can comprehend a trace of the devouring law. I smile ruefully and tell it we have all but slaughtered the beasts in this devouring law region, that it takes half a day now just to find one. If it still cannot comprehend the devouring law, there is nothing for it but to leave for the next region. It answers confidently that this time it will surely comprehend the devouring law and break through to the Tao Seed realm. I tell it to find a safe place to break through, wave it up, and fly off into the distance. A quarter hour later, I land with it on a rock and tell it to break through right here, that I have found no other cultivators or beasts nearby, and will act as its protector. Then I quickly form seals to set up a 5 elements defense formation. It nods, excited, boasting that with Master as protector, 100 enemies could not disturb its breakthrough. Do not talk nonsense, I tell it, slapping its head. If its jinxing tongue really summons 100 enemies, my small frame might not hold them, and then it will likely be caught and stewed into dog meat hot pot. It shrinks its neck, nods fast, does not dare answer back, and lies obediently on the rock to refine the devouring law crystal. I watch quietly as it refines the crystal, a mysterious law aura gathering around it. As the refining goes on, a faint law glow begins to circle its body, and a gratified smile rises on me. Little Yellow was raised by me from small, and we have been together longest, our bond deep. Mischievous as the little fellow usually is, it is fiercely loyal to me. Seeing it comprehend the devouring law ahead of schedule makes me happy from the bottom of my heart. It is only an ordinary dog with no special aptitude. Its intelligence opened only through my baptism of spiritual chi and the medicinal herbs I fed it. Now tempered by the devouring law's power, its aptitude will surely climb. With a solid foundation of comprehending the law early, it can walk further with me down the years. and I will not have to fear it dying of exhausted lifespan across the long time ahead. Suddenly, the law glow on it condenses into a black hole, devouring heaven and earth spiritual chi frantically, its aura climbing steadily. My eyes light, because it is about to break through to the Tao Seed realm. But the next second I frown hard, cast my gaze past the formation, and cannot help grumbling that little yellow's jinxing tongue is dead accurate. There really are over 100 people outside, which is just too much. The creation secret realm is enormous, hard to meet even one person on a normal day, let alone 100 gathered at once. By their clothes, they seem to be of one faction, which is strange. So how did they come together? Whatever. If they will not hear reason, I will just enlighten them the hard way. I step out of the formation and go quickly to meet them. Seeing them all in gold-red divine robes, their auras somewhat off, not like orthodox cultivators, I raise my brows. I call for them to hold that my pet is mid-breakthrough behind me, and to please leave quickly. At that, a man named Joe Ho flashes a sharp light in his eyes and intones that God pities the world, loves all living beings, and saves the poor. All living beings should give back to God, he says, and the sinner before him should offer up all his treasures. The corner of my mouth twitches hard, my fists clench, my temper flares, and I could attack on the spot. I had not expected a pack of cultists, and cultists this begging to be hit the moment they open their mouths. I breathe deep to steady myself, because Little Yellow's breakthrough matters right now, and I cannot disturb it. So I endure. I tell them in a low voice to please leave, that there truly are no treasures here. Joe Ho looks down his nose at me, his tone contemptuous, calling me a sinner who dares lie before a divine envoy, asking whether I do not fear God sending down divine punishment. Blast it. They really do not understand plain speech, so I will send them all to see their God. Seeing the man lord it over me as if he had me cornered, my face darkens and killing intent surges. Since I cannot move them with virtue, I will move them with reason, which means enlightening every last one of them with my fists and sending them personally to meet their God. I draw a medium-grade spiritual sword from my storage space and raise my wrist. A brilliant sword light slashes out, carrying the aura to tear heaven and earth apart. Its sword intent sharp as a blade, and it splits the Joe Ho before me in two. To his death, Joe Ho had not expected I would dare strike across so vast a gap in strength. I do not pause a moment. The spiritual sword swings on, streams of sharp sword light tearing the air, cutting down 15 cultists in an instant. A cultist roars that I dare kill a divine envoy, that my sins are monstrous, that God will send punishment. He calls for them to kill me as he raises a hand to cast a thunder spell. God, I sneer. If I say he is God, then he is God. And if I say he is nothing, then he is nothing. Before the words finish, I dash in, slipping the flood of attacks, and rush straight into the crowd. A fierce battle erupts, roars rolling one after another, brilliant sword light and assorted spells colliding in dazzling bursts, surging energy sweeping every direction and warping even space while mountains and trees blast to fragments. Numerous as the cultists are, I lean on raw strength and lightning speed, sword chi crossing in all directions, and wherever the light reaches nothing withstands it, and everything is cut down. Almost every strike takes a cultist's life, and in a blink, only 50 remain. Someone shrieks that I dare offend their kingdom of God, that flee to the heavens or burrow into the earth. There is no path of survival for me. Kingdom of God, I echo, curling my lip, my hands never stopping, and I slash out 8 sharp sword lights in a row and kill 8 of them. I will remember it, I tell them, and if the chance comes, I will visit this kingdom of God and see exactly what their so-called God is worth. A cultist roars that I am a cursed sinner who should wait for divine punishment, then retreats into the crowd chanting. He calls for everyone to set the formation and summon the God, radiant divine light bursting from him. A mysterious power gathers among them, and a phantom figure slowly solidifies. And though it is only a phantom, it loses a terrifying aura the instant it appears, crushing the surroundings. I look at the thing forming before me and cannot help a flick of surprise. This so-called God is genuinely powerful, a single phantom carrying such overwhelming pressure. But a single phantom still cannot beat me. Is this the God you worship, I sneer? Then today I will taste what it is like to slay one. The figure calls me a sinner who dares offend the divine might, says I will be executed, and strikes out a bolt of lightning. It names the thunder of divine punishment. Posing as a god and playing the devil, I scoff. That a single lightning spell dares call itself the thunder of divine punishment, and by that logic this sword of mine is the god-slaying sword. My sword momentum surges, and a sword light brighter and sharper than before tears the air to meet the lightning head-on, and the two collide in a roar like thunder from the nine heavens. The sharp light rips through the lightning at once, carrying sword chi that could sever heaven and earth, and slashes furiously at the figure. It casts a shield of God that forms instantly and blocks the sword chi, and at the same time it condenses an energy divine spear in its phantom grip and thrusts it at me. My expression does not change as I backhand two sword lights that could sever heaven and slay gods. The incomparably sharp light tears the sky, shatters the spear, smashes the shield of God, and the last of it splits the figure in half. The phantom bursts into rain of light and is gone. As the figure collapses, the remaining cultists all spit blood, their faces full of disbelief. But before they can recover, a sharp sword light that could annihilate everything whistles through them, cutting them all in two and killing them on the spot. Kingdom of God, God, today I cut down your phantom, and another day I will surely cut down your true form. I set to searching the corpses, a pack of poor ghosts. And how is it everyone who enters this secret realm is a poor ghost? Nothing but a few healing medicinal pills and magic treasures, and nothing else. I wave a hand and strike several palms, shattering the cultists' corpses and clothes to dust. I look around, confirm no one is spying from the shadows, and soar for the 5 elements defense formation. Just as I reach it, a powerful aura erupts, along with wailing, howling shouts. Little Yellow is crowing that it has finally broken through to the Dao Seed realm and comprehended the devouring law, that it is a genuine genius dog. And who else is there? I walk in and find Little Yellow in its big floral pants, up on its hind legs, front paws on its hips, mouth wide, crowing arrogant and smug. I flash before it and slap its head. Who else? Huh? A genius dog, is it? So smug it wants to fly to heaven? And it, with its jinxing tongue, really did summon over 100 enemies just now. If I had not had some strength, I would likely have been beaten to death on the spot, and it made into dog meat hot pot. It throws its arms around my thigh and says pitifully that I am its grandfather, its very own dear grandfather. It was only overjoyed about the breakthrough, it says, because its lifespan has grown, and it can stay with Master longer now. Let go this instant, I snap, stiffening all over and then shaking my leg hard. I am not its grandfather, I insist, and it should not call me that at random, since it learns none of the good things and all the bad. Watching it fawn and wag its tail, I can only sigh up at the sky at the sin of it. It mutters, unconvinced, that it saw John Dado call me grandfather, and I did not refuse. So why can it not? Is that the same thing, I say, speechless, looking up at the sky? He is a human, and it is a dog. And if it calls me grandfather, does that not make me the ancestor of dogs? I keep telling it to read more. I add, and it will not. So it cannot even work out logic that simple. Oh, I see. It blurts, slapping its head, shaking it as if it has grasped some great truth. Watching Little Yellow, silly and sweet, one moment, and sharp the next, I sigh helplessly. Never mind. It is the dog I raised, so I can only forgive it. I tell it we are off to the next law region and to go back into the pet space first, then cast a gentle light and take it inside. I fix the direction and fly for the crystal wall, and a moment later, reaching it, I punch out a passage and flash into the next law region. The instant I appear, a weight presses me, then lifts in a blink. I scan around, see no other cultivators or beasts, and reach out to grab some heaven and earth spiritual chi. I sense it carefully, wanting to tell this region's great Tao laws from the special aura in the chi. Before long, my eyes light, because it is the law of emotions and desires, which I have not comprehended. The desires here mean the 7 emotions and 6 desires, the whole tangle of feeling and want in sentient beings. As the thought lands, a strange look crosses my face. This region amplifies a person's 7 emotions and 6 desires, which is truly bizarre. It can turn people irritable, so 2 cultivators might merely glance at each other, sour, and start fighting. Or it can swell mutual affection, so 2 who already felt something drift straight into becoming Tao companions. In short, one has to be extremely careful here, or a careless moment drops you into the trap. It has almost no hold on me though, since the space-time realm lets me all but ignore negative outside influence. I release Little Yellow and tell it in a low voice that this is the law of emotions and desires region, that it amplifies the 7 emotions and 6 desires. Unless necessary, it should not absorb the spiritual chi here, I warn, but guard its mind and not be swayed by the outside world. Its eyes sharpen as it gathers its focus, and nods solemnly that it will be careful, then twitches its nose to sniff around. A moment later, confusion crosses its face as it admits it cannot find any trace of exotic beasts. Surprise crosses me too. Across over 2,000 law regions, every time I released Little Yellow, it turned up a beast within moments. And this is the first time it has not. Let us go, I tell it. We will look elsewhere, and perhaps we can find some clues. I have swept the Desire Law region with Little Yellow for half a day now. I have not turned up a single exotic beast, not even the shadow of another cultivator. It is the first time I have run into anything this strange, and my expression turns grave. I tell Little Yellow we will search a little longer. If nothing surfaces, we move to the next law region, because this place is genuinely off. Little Yellow goes solemn too, since it has felt the wrongness as well. It mutters that the silence here is the kind that crawls up your spine. An hour later, I still have nothing to show for it. Just as I am ready to quit, a wisp of clear, cool fragrance drifts in from far off. The moment it fills my lungs, my spirits lift, and I look toward its source with an uncertain sort of surprise. Little Yellow is thrilled, insisting the smell alone is bliss, and begging me to go see. It is convinced the scent hides the secret of the Desire Law region. I tell it I am curious too, and I flash off toward the drifting fragrance. Before long, I find a black lotus blooming slowly at the center of a lake 10,000 meters wide. Cool fragrance rises off it in threads, and over 100 cultivators stand along the shore. They all wait in silence for it to open. Little Yellow crows that the black lotus must be a heaven and earth spirit medicine, and that its seeds could push our cultivation higher. I keep my voice low and tell it the setup is wrong. A law region with no beasts and only a single lotus is not normal, so we watch first and do not rush in. Watch first. I even manage to say it with a straight face. I land on the shore with Little Yellow and scan the crowd. I do not expect to find the heavenly revelation sex saint, Yi Yang, and its saintess, Ye Chongsul, standing among them. My arrival draws a few glances, but one look tells them I am a nobody, so they lose interest. 3 hours later, the black lotus fully opens, erupts with many-colored light, and just as quickly withers away. 13 lotus seeds form on the pod, each the size of a grown man's fist, each radiating brilliant law light. A thick fragrance rolls out and drowns everything, stirring the desire buried in every heart on that shore. Greed floods their eyes, and one figure after another hurls itself toward the seeds. Little Yellow's eyes go blood red with the same hunger, and it strains to bolt for the lotus and snatch the seeds. I am faster than it is. I catch it and stuff it into the pet space before it can move, telling it that greed already has it. It can sit in there and cool off. The space-time realm walls me off from outside influence, so the lotus's greed slides right past me. That is my reason. Ye Chongsul has no such thing, yet when I look again, I see she alone has not rushed the seeds. She holds the temptation back on the strength of her own mind, and the composure of it is honestly startling. Right then she notices that I have resisted the pull too, and the same surprise flickers in her eyes. The cultivator who reaches the front first is just closing his hand on the seeds. A root bursts up from beneath the water and coils around him like a spirit snake. One short scream escapes him before he is sucked into a withered husk, then twisted into fragments that drop into the lake. More roots break the surface, curling like hideous tentacles toward everyone the greed is blinded. In the space of a breath, over 30 people are wrapped, drained dry, and shredded into the water. The shock jolts the survivors half awake. Someone shouts that the black lotus has turned into a spirit, that they must attack together and kill it. In an instant, the air fills with laced lightning, flying swords, rolling fireballs, and roaring water dragons. The whole storm pours down on the lotus at the lake's heart. Its roots lash into a net of countless black whips, straining to hold off the barrage, the din deafening. Roots snap and green sap sprays, but the cultivators take heavy losses too, and every so often, another one falls screaming under a counterstrike. Then Ye Chongsul taps her toes and flashes out like a bolt of light, arriving before the black lotus in a heartbeat. She lifts her wrist, and a sword chi carrying the intent to freeze heaven and earth tears down through the sky. Where it passes, the lotus roots snap inch by inch, and even the tough leaves are sheared away. She does not let up, cutting 3 more impossibly sharp sword chi strikes in a row. The black lotus has nothing left to resist with, and only the bare pod remains. Ye Riang, closest to the lotus, howls in wild joy that the seeds are his and reaches for them. At that exact moment, my 5-colored divine light flashes, and the 13 seeds vanish from the pod without a trace. His hand freezes on empty air, his eyes go blank, and then he erupts. He roars to know who stole his lotus seeds, swearing to kill them. The sudden turn stuns the shore, and heads whip around, searching. Ye Chung-sol grips the medium-grade spirit sword in her hand and drives a sharp sword chi straight down at me. She demands I hand the seeds over or not blame her for what comes next. I tell her that treasure belongs to the virtuous and that I am clearly the virtuous one here. I chuckle, slip aside from her sword chi, and shoot away into the distance. The rest of the cultivators snap out of it and hurl a tide of attacks after me, shouting at me to stay. I let my aura surge and throw out the five elements fist, strike after strike. Fist shadows fill the sky, the power of the five elements circling without end, and every incoming attack shatters. The leftover fist energy does not fade. It sends dozens of cultivators flying backward, blood on their lips as they crash into the lake. I spin and throw another punch that breaks Ye Chung-sol's sword chi and staggers her back. A thread of blood at the corner of her mouth. Ye Rang roars that the seeds are his and no one may take them. And he charges. The blazing sun orb in his hand burns like a small sun as it smashes toward me. I let my face go cold, tell him he is seeking death, and unleash the five elements palm. A five-colored giant palm blots out the sky and comes down with the weight of a falling mountain. It slaps Ye Rang and his blazing sun orb together into the lake. I sweep the shore and find everyone frozen, every face full of horror, Ye Chung-sol included. I turn my palm on the black lotus itself and let the force pour out with the destructive spin of the five elements. The lake water is shoved aside to both banks. Towering waves rear up, and the deep-buried roots are laid bare. In the next instant, the whole black lotus and every root of it is ground to powder. The crowd sucks in a breath, and the fear they aim at me is undisguised. I sweep them once, glance at Ye Chung-sol one last time, and since no one moves to block me, I fly off into the distance. 13 seeds, 1 lake drained, no receipt. A decent afternoon's work. I leave the Desire Law region and arrive in the Wood Law region. I wave a hand to release Little Yellow and tell it I am going into seclusion to refine the lotus seeds and comprehend the Desire Law, so it will stand as my protector. It responds with its tail wagging, thrilled, and asks how many seeds I managed to grab. I smile and tell it I took all 13. It gushes that I am amazing to have wrestled seeds away from so many people. It marvels most at Ye Chung-sol, whose golden core has likely broken through to a 9-pattern golden core at the peak golden core realm. Little Yellow gazes up at me with shining eyes and asks just how strong I am now. At the same time, it schemes quietly to itself, wondering whether it can ride my coattails to greatness. It is the way humans talk about a dog throwing its weight around on its master's name. I think it over and tell it my strength should already exceed the golden core realm, though I cannot say by how much, since I have not fought anyone stronger. I tell it there is no point chewing on that with no reference, and that improving my own cultivation matters most. So I am going in to comprehend the Desire Law. I take the 13 lotus seeds from the space of my 5-colored divine light and examine them closely. There is nothing unusual about them beyond the power of the Desire Law and a vigorous life energy. Refining them into a pill might squeeze out more value, but the seeds cannot leave the creation secret realm. Even if they could, alchemy would first need a suitable pill formula, and that means time and trial I do not have. Better to eat them directly. It is a little wasteful, but as long as I draw the Desire Law out of them, the rest does not matter. I sit cross-legged on a rock, toss a seed into my mouth, crush it, and swallow. The moment it hits my stomach, Desire Law power and life energy gush out. A wave of trance rolls through me as illusions rise before my eyes, and the 7 emotions and 6 desires surge into my heart. The space-time realm flickers a few times, the illusions vanish, and my mind clears. At once, the 129,600 world seeds erupt with a devouring force and consume the Desire Law whole. A stream of profound information floods my consciousness. I linked my divine sense to the subsystem computing power matrix to deduce and break down the Desire Law. Meanwhile, the life energy in the seed is refined and drunk in by every cell in my body until they thrum with new vigor. I eat the seeds one by one, and the Desire Law light on me brightens from faint to blinding, its truths turning around me. When the 13th seed goes down, the light flares as dense as a small sun, because the Desire Law packed into those seeds is simply overwhelming. It carries my comprehension in one leap into the top 10 most perfected of all my great Tao laws. Then the brilliance quietly fades, and on each of my world seeds, a strand of the Desire Law has appeared. The 3,000 great Tao laws gather at that moment, and erupt with a dazzling light that washes over my physical body again and again. Wisps of black, turbid chi are driven out of me, and as the black gas leaves, my body turns clear as crystal. The red blood in my veins slowly transforms into gold, strand by strand, my physical body sublimating and remaking itself. Its strength climbs, and my potential deepens. A quarter of an hour later, the great Tao light fades, but only half my blood has turned gold, and the transformation stalls there. By ordinary logic, the rest could only be finished slowly through future cultivation. I do not end the seclusion there, though, because I mean to take on something far bigger for my foundation. I intend to fuse the 3,000 Great Tao laws into the World Great Tao I primarily cultivate, expanding it. Then I will derive the 3,000 laws, even billions of laws, back out of the World Great Tao. All Taos returning to one Tao manifesting all Taos, since the Taos of the world are truly infinite and 3,000 is only a figure of speech. I put it into action at once. The world seeds erupt with the light of the World Great Tao and move to swallow all 3,000 laws together. But the laws blaze back and resist the fusion, and the two sides collide and lock into a stalemate. I frown, think a moment, and change tack. Instead of forcing them in all at once, I fold them into the World Great Tao one by one. The first I choose is the law of space, since the World Great Tao already holds the Great Tao of space. Just as I expect, the Great Tao of space fuses after only slight resistance, and the World Great Tao instantly grows more substantial. The Great Tao of time follows, fusing after only a brief struggle. From there, I work down the line, incorporating each remaining law one at a time. As more of them merge, the World Great Tao grows stronger, and each new fusion runs faster than the last. The instant the final law fuses, the World Great Tao erupts with light, its runes turning and shining, infinite truths manifesting within. In a flash, the 3,000 laws are derived from it again, then merge straight back into it, cycling without end. The old law patterns on the world seeds vanish, replaced by World Great Tao patterns. Inside their origin space, the World Great Tao spins out the 3,000 laws, which weave into a great Tao web that shrouds the chaos space. The world seeds pour their light onto my physical body and soul, branding great Tao runes into both, tightening the bond between essence, Shi, spirit, and Tao. My body sublimates again, the red blood turning gold once more, until it is all gold with runes flickering inside the very blood. My whole frame erupts with dazzling light, runes shining, and I begin to devour heaven and earth's spiritual chi like a starving thing. Little Yellow watches the whole earth-shaking change and shudders to its core at the aura pouring off me. It feels an unspeakable weight bear down and is forced to retreat again and again. It thinks to itself that my strength is too terrifying, that a single wisp of my aura is almost enough to suppress it flat. I open my eyes, and the phantom of a chaos world flashes through them. The 3,000 Great Tao laws woven into a net. Infinite truths of the Great Tao play out and vanish in an instant. The gains from this seclusion are immense. I have not only reached perfection in the 3,000 Great Tao laws, I have folded them into the World Great Tao. I have truly reached the state where 10,000 Taos return to one, and one Tao evolves into 10,000. I could break through to the Tao manifestation realm at any time now, but I am still inside the creation secret realm, and this is not the moment. There are nearly 1,000 Great Tao law regions I have not yet set foot in. It is the perfect chance to comprehend the rest one by one and fold them all into the World Great Tao. After this seclusion, my mastery of the space-time realm has reached 42%. My strength has changed beyond recognition, though with no point of comparison I cannot say what level I have hit. Feeling the power surge through me like a tide, I can barely hold myself back from hunting down an expert to spar. A deep breath later, reason wins out, and I calm down. Little Yellow scampers over and asks with wide-eyed curiosity whether I have broken through to the next realm past the Tao Seed realm. I pat its head and tell it not yet, only a slight improvement, and I thank it for standing guard. It insists there was no trouble at all, then squints and chuckles that every time it plays protector it gets bathed in the light of the Great Tao. It even feels the bath sharpen its own cultivation aptitude. I stretch and tell it that while the creation's secret realm is still open, we are moving to the next law region, and I send it back into the pet space. Over the days that follow, I carry Little Yellow through the remaining 1,000 Great Tao law regions. I comprehend 151 new Great Tao laws and fold every one of them into the World Great Tao. It grows more profound with each addition and lifts my strength along with it. Standing at last in the final Earth Law region, I feel the crushing weight of 3,000 strands of Great Tao Law wrapped around me. I had not expected that once the count reached 3,000 it would trigger a change in kind. The gravity surges 100-fold, until even my transformed physical body groans under a pressure like a mountain. With only half a day left before the creation secret realm closes, it is the perfect time to use that pressure to temper my body. I close my eyes, still my mind, and circulate my cultivation technique with full focus. The surrounding heaven and earth spiritual chi rushes toward me like 10,000 rivers pouring into the sea, all of it drawn in to refine. Half a day later I open my eyes, the space around me twists, and I stand once more on Creation Mountain. Cultivators are still emerging from the secret realm one after another. Though the crowd has thinned by nearly 20%, many figures already fill the slopes. I look around, meaning to find Sa Tong, when a heaven-shaking roar hits me from behind. Someone crows that he has finally found me, that I dared steal his lotus seeds, and that today he will spar with me again. I turn and see the heavenly revelation sect saint, Yi Riang, gripping his blazing sun orb, cold light in his eyes and towering battle intent on his face. It genuinely startles me. I had assumed my palm left him badly hurt, and I did not expect him back on his feet this quickly. Either he stumbled onto some other fortune, or he is carrying high-grade healing medicinal pills. Before I can answer, Ye Yang erupts with a tyrannical aura. He shouts that in the creation secret realm he had 52 strands of great Tao law wrapped around him, dragging down his strength and letting me take advantage. He declares that his golden core has now broken through to a 7-pattern golden core, and that today he will show me his true power. The claim yanks every eye toward us, faces bright with curiosity, and the crowd starts to buzz. Someone wonders who I am to have snatched Yi Riang's prize, since I look like no one from a major school, though clearly strong to have beaten him. The murmurs run on. Someone points out that Ye Riang passed through 52 law regions under astonishing gravity, and lost only because the secret realm suppressed him. Now, unsuppressed and freshly broken through, he will surely turn the tables. They note that I am still standing there straight instead of running, as if I do not grasp that this is no longer the creation secret realm. Not one voice in that crowd favors me, and every one of them has already written me off as doomed. Ye Chung Sol's brows draw together, disgust flickering in her eyes at how impulsive and reckless her sect brother is. Still, because they are both of the heavenly revelation sect, she speaks up for the sect's honor and warns Ye Rang to be cautious and not act on temper. He brushes it off, telling her not to worry, that since I dared steal their lotus seeds, he will make me pay the price. Her brows knit tighter, she shakes her head slightly, and she stops trying to talk sense into him. Looking at Ye Rang's smug, swaggering confidence, I am left with nothing but a flat kind of speechlessness. Are all these geniuses from the immortal cultivation schools this arrogant and ignorant? Or is Ye Riang simply a special case? I honestly cannot work out who handed him the nerve to come at me a second time. I tell him it clearly was not easy to patch himself up so fast. He had better not get hurt again and waste his healing medicinal pills for nothing. He snorts that I am an ignorant boy, that I should not mistake one lucky win for real strength, and to take this. Ye Rang's aura surges, and spiritual chi floods wildly into the blazing sun orb, until it erupts with dazzling flame, a small sun hanging in the air. The surrounding air scorches and warps, and the trees on Creation Mountain wither and blacken before my eyes, as he drives the orb at me. I keep my face indifferent and raise a hand into a single palm strike. A 5-colored palm print carrying the might of a toppling mountain slams toward him, the air tearing open along its path. The palm print snuffs out the flames on the blazing sun orb and keeps coming with undiminished force. Ye Riang has only enough time to loose one disbelieving roar before he is smashed into the mountainside, orb and all. Yet Chung Sol's lips part in shock, her eyes wide. She had long expected Ye Riang to be no match, yet she never imagined the gap would be this vast. This is not the creation secret realm, and even so he fell to a single palm, a result too shocking for anyone to easily swallow. The whole crowd draws a sharp breath at once, eyes round, faces full of disbelief. They cannot fathom it. One saint of the heavenly revelation sect, a 7-pattern golden core genius in the late golden core stage, slapped into solid stone by a single palm. A knot of loose cultivators, though, whoops that their own kind has finally produced a prodigy who can stamp on the arrogant geniuses of the famous sects. Off to the side, Zhang Sagi, Im Zhang, and Li Yan feel their eyes glaze with a heavy sense of the familiar. Zhang Sagi lets out a long breath, as though a weight has lifted off him, his whole body loosening. He thinks that I am simply a monster, that even Saint Ye Riang is no opponent of mine. and he wonders what on earth he was ever so conflicted about. I do not follow up with another blow. Tens of thousands of eyes are on me, and openly killing the Heavenly Revelation sect saint would be genuinely inappropriate. Just then, my system messenger lights up with a message from Sa Tong. Sa Tong writes that I have truly shocked him, that felling the Heavenly Revelation sect saint in one palm is no small thing. That saint, he says, is someone Zhang Sagi cannot even measure against, and he asks whether I am really still in the Dao Seed realm. He wonders aloud why the gap between his Dao Seed realm and mine yawns as wide as heaven and earth. I answer that he flatters me too much, that Ye Riang is not all that strong. If Satong cultivates to the peak Dao Seed realm and comprehends the great Dao laws, he might well have a shot at beating him. And yes, I am indeed still in the Dao Seed realm. I keep to myself the small footnote that my Dao Seed realm runs a little over spec. Satong writes back that he cannot imagine which peerless genius created a Dao Seed martial arts system this formidable. He says that if it keeps developing, it might truly surpass the immortal cultivation system. I answer that I believe it will, and I warn him to be careful, since many people saw us together. I worry Ye Rang may come looking to make trouble for him. He tells me not to worry, that he knows his limits, but since I defeated Ye Riang in front of everyone, I should watch out for the Heavenly Revelation sect's powerful experts. I tell him understood, that I will leave shortly and go into seclusion to stay out of the spotlight. I message John Dotto next and tell him to be careful from now on, since I just beat up his sect's saint, Ye Riang. The man knows about our connection and might come after him, so maybe he should just run. John Dotto protests that I must be joking, that there is no way I could have beaten Ye Riang. I tell him it is true, and send him a clip I filmed of the fight. He blurts back in shock at how fierce I have become, then asks how I ended up crossing the man in the first place. I explained that I went to challenge the creation secret realm and accidentally roughed up the sect's holy son and holy maiden inside. When Ye Riang came out unconvinced, I beat him again. Jian Dado marvels that my combat power is genuinely this strong now. Then he frets over how I could bear to strike the Saintess Ye Chung Soul, since she is so beautiful and, as he puts it, his dream lover. He admits he really will have to be careful from here on. Right then, an overwhelming aura presses down like storm clouds and swallows the whole of Creation Mountain, and a domineering voice rolls across the peaks. It announces that the Cheongheo sect's saintess, Baek Ri, has died inside the Creation secret realm and demands to know her killer. The words leave the whole mountain stunned since no one expected the Cheongheo sect's saintess to die in there. Baek Ri was a genius with 7-pattern golden core quality and formidable combat power, and how she could have perished is beyond them. I go still. I had not counted on Baek Ri's death dragging out a spirit transformation realm expert, and I can only hope he will not sniff out that I did it. The voice returns, noting that none of us seem to know. It says that with the Saintess's cultivation, the exotic beasts of the creation secret realm could never have killed her. It declares that the only one here capable of ending her with no chance to flee is me, and orders me back to the Cheongheo sect for questioning. Before the words even finish, Zhang Miang, the spirit transformation realm expert of the Cheongheo sect, lurking in the shadows, makes his move. A giant hand condensed from immense spiritual power materializes out of nothing and grasps toward me with crushing coercion. I let my face darken. He cannot find his real killer, so, seeing that I am a loose cultivator, he wants a convenient scapegoat. I am not someone to be trifled with. I had not expected that exposing my strength on Ye Riang would make this expert fix his suspicion on me and act this decisively. In the cultivation world, strength really is the whole of the truth. And honestly, this suits me, since I wanted to measure a spirit transformation realm master anyway. Even if I cannot win, I am confident I can run. My whole body's aura erupts. I form the fist seal and launch the 5 elements fist, its power turning without pause into a might that can grind everything to nothing. The giant spiritual hand shatters to pieces under a single punch. My confidence soars, my figure flickers, and I lunge at Zhang Miang fast as lightning, the 5 elements fist roaring out again with world-ending force. He snarls that I dare offend the might of the spirit transformation realm, and vows to teach me the vastness of heaven and earth. Zhang Miang's eyes go cold and murderous, and he forms hand seals. A wooden spear condenses from thin air to slam against my fist. The two collide and both dissipate in midair, and from there we are locked into it, trading blows, roars rolling out and violent energy sweeping in every direction. Watching me hold my ground against a spirit transformation realm expert, Ye Chong-sul parts her lips in shock. She murmurs that I must have been holding back all along, and puzzles over why I feel so familiar to her, when we have met only 4 times. In a flash, she reacts, flickers over to grab the unconscious Ye Rong, and hauls him clear of the battlefield before the aftershocks can catch them. The rest of Creation Mountain cries out to see a mere loose cultivator clash head-on with the spirit transformation realm. Someone insists this is not how immortal cultivation is supposed to work, that no one should trade fists barehanded with that realm and still be golden core. Others decide I must be a hidden spirit transformation realm expert and a body-refining monster. The whole crowd starts scrambling for the outskirts, unwilling to be killed by the spillover of our fight. Zhang Miang and I clash on, spells flying from his hands without landing a scratch, until we have blown past 300 exchanges. He tells me he did not expect a body-refining expert. But it ends here. Whether I killed Bakery or not, I will die today, since a prodigy like me should not exist in the cultivation world. His eyes ice over with murder as he draws a high-grade spiritual sword and slashes out a sharp sword light. Tiny cracks split the space in its wake, sword chi surging at me with heaven-shaking force. I curl my lip and ask the old fossil what he is so arrogant about, telling him to come kill me if he can. I pull a low-grade spiritual sword from my storage space, form the sword seal, and perform the space-rending sword technique. A world-shaking sword light cuts out, its sword intent climbing straight into the clouds. The brilliance drains the color from heaven and earth as it carries the power to tear the sky and split the ground, and it destroys his sword chi outright. We clash again, both blades ringing, and the violent energy pocks Creation Mountain with craters and shears several peaks clean off. The longer I fight, the more the fire rises in me, my moves growing smoother, and I steadily take the upper hand. Zhang Miang realizes he is losing and cries out in a broken voice, unable to grasp how my combat power can be this ferocious. I sneer that nothing in this world is impossible, that the so-called impossible is merely what a man like him cannot reach. I tell him people like him rotted long ago and dragged the whole world rotting down with them, and today I will cut him out of it. Before the words fade, I slash sharp sword lights out in a chain, driving him into a stumbling retreat. If not for the medium-grade spiritual artifact treasure armor on his body, he would already be bleeding out. His face goes ashen, and he roars that I should not think I can kill him just because I hold the advantage. He hurls a hasty sword chi as he turns to flee. He threatens that from now on I can wait to be hunted by his Cheongheo sect, and that even my relatives and friends will die because of me. Killing intent floods my eyes. I tell him he is the one seeking death, that he will die here today, and since he dares threaten me, I will erase him. The 129,600 world seeds inside me erupt at once. Surging true force sweeps out like a tsunami, and a majestic aura that commands the universe and stands above all living things booms free. I swing my spiritual sword again, and a sword light brighter and sharper than any before shoots out. It rips a hideous fissure straight through the void. Horror floods Zhang Miang's face, and deep fear fills his eyes, because he never expected me to summon a power this terrifying. He swings his sword up in a desperate parry. My sword light knocks the high-grade blade spinning from his grip and cuts into him. His spiritual shield shatters instantly, and even that medium-grade treasure armor splits open. A deep wound to the bone opens across him, blood gushing, and before he can even react to the pain, the great 5 elements destruction divine light comes crashing down. That power of total extinction sweeps through his whole body and grinds his physical body to powder in an instant. Even his primordial spirit has no time to escape before it is annihilated. I sweep my divine sense over the ruins, and only after confirming his soul has scattered without a remnant do I let out a long breath. I gather up his leftover high-grade spiritual sword and his storage pouch into my storage space. Then I lift my head and sweep the crowd. The spectating cultivators lower their faces one after another, not one daring to meet my eyes. I open the system messenger and write to Sa Tong that I just killed that spirit transformation realm cultivator of the Cheongheo sect. It will almost certainly draw retaliation, so I am going into seclusion, and he should hide for a while too, in case they vent their anger on him. Sa Tong is a friend I only just met, but he has helped me greatly. Without his tip about the creation secret realm, I could never have reached perfection in the 3,000 Great Tao laws so fast. Now that I have stirred up trouble, I owe him the warning, and what he does with it is his to decide. His reply comes at once, asking again whether I am truly still in the Tao seed realm. He finds it hard to believe I could kill a spirit transformation realm expert from within it. A leap across 2 whole realms. He says he has combed through nearly 100,000 years of the cultivation world's records and found no such case. He wonders how practicing the same Dao Seed martial arts system, the gap between us can be this enormous. I explained that I am indeed in the Dao Seed realm, but the realm is a peculiar one. Strength here hangs on the kind and depth of the great Dao laws a person has comprehended. Many cultivators have grasped only concepts and never true laws, and that is where the vast gulf comes from. Sa Tong marvels that I have actually comprehended great Dao laws inside the Dao Seed realm, his astonishment nearly spilling off the page. He confesses that even with the enlightenment space and everything the creation secret realm gave him, he is still one step short of comprehending a single great Dao law. The gap between people, he says, is truly wider than the gap between humans and dogs. He tells me he is off to find a hidden place to seclude himself, to strive for that first law and lie low at the same time. I wish him success in his Dao, then turn to write to Joan Dado. I tell Jian Dado that a spirit transformation realm expert from the Chongheo sect attacked me and I killed him instead. He should hurry and run before they take their anger out on him. His reply snaps back almost instantly, thick with doubt, asking whether I really killed a spirit transformation realm expert from the Chongheo sect. He insists there is no need to brag between friends this close. I tell him it is true and the news will spread soon, urging him again that hiding for a while is the safer bet. He gasps that I cannot be serious, that I am only in the Dao Seed realm yet can kill men in the spirit transformation realm, and admits he is half tempted to switch over. John Dado adds that even if he wanted to run he could not, since his brother is in the Heavenly Revelation sect, and his family is in the mortal realm. Then he steadies himself and says it is fine, that not many people know of his tie to me. As a Heavenly Revelation sect disciple, he says he is beyond the Chongheo sect's reach anyway. I tell him to take care. My figure flickers, I turn into a streak of light, and I fly fast away from the direction of the Chongheo sect to find a quiet place for seclusion. Ye Chongsul gazes off the way I left, her mind adrift, murmuring to herself whether I can really be only in the Golden Core realm. If so, she wonders how many patterns my Golden Core must hold to give me combat power like that. She reflects that even with her own 9-pattern Golden Core, she could not survive a single exchange against a spirit transformation realm expert without grave injury. She wonders whether there could be some existence higher still than a 9-pattern Golden Core. Only once my figure has vanished do the surrounding cultivators dare to release the breath they have been holding. That godlike, demon-like pressure had bore down so hard that no one had the courage even to lift their eyes. They whisper that I killed a spirit transformation realm expert on nothing but my own combat strength, with no external force, and they cannot make it feel real. Someone asks whether I truly am Golden Core, and whether he has been cultivating a fake Golden Core all this time. Another says this matches the rumors that a body-refining expert's strength can never be judged by his realm, or a man will die without ever knowing how. They agree the cultivation world has never seen a talent this brilliant, and are half convinced it never will again. After I leave Creation Mountain, I immediately activate the 2 laws, the law of destiny and the law of karma, and scramble my own karmic threads and heavenly trajectory. The move is a guard against the Chongheo sect's diviners, so they cannot trace me by reading the heavenly secrets. I can kill men in the spirit transformation realm now, but the waters of the cultivation world run far too deep. No one can say what kind of terrifying experts the Chongheo sect keeps hidden away. A sect that has stood for tens of thousands of years is bound to have profound heritage to protect itself. If I do not veil my tracks, I might not even learn how I died. I change my flight direction and race on without stopping for 10 days straight. Then I pick out an unremarkable little hilltop, hollow out a cave, and set up a 5 elements defensive formation. Once more I use the law of destiny and the law of karma to disturb the heavenly secrets and make everything foolproof. I wave a hand, a flash of yellow light appears, and Little Yellow is already in the cave with me. The moment it sees me, Little Yellow leaps about and exclaims that I can actually kill spirit transformation realm experts, and that it is far too amazing. Curiosity stirs in me, and I ask how it could possibly know that, having spent the last few days shut in the pet space. It tells me the broadcast feed and the forum have both gone wild, and that there is even a clip of the whole scene. My brow twitches, since I had not realized there were other system hosts at the fight. I open the broadcast feed and find the top 2 spots on the trending list, both mine. One clip is built around a Dao Seed realm cultivator killing a spirit transformation realm expert. The other around a single palm that felled the Heavenly Revelation sect saint. I click into the killing clip, and sure enough it is my fierce battle with Zheng Miang. filmed from a distance. Then I open the comments, and the feed is a roar of vindication and disbelief. The general mood is delight that I cut down a spirit transformation realm bully, who accused me for no reason, and awe that a Tao seed cultivator could win it all. One comment stands out, saying I hold both the #1 system host title and the top of the Tao seed realm combat power ranking, and am ridiculously strong. Threaded through it are a few bitter notes. One host laments that if he had known the Tao seed martial arts system was this powerful, he would never have joined a cultivation sect. He now lives like a beast of burden, with less freedom than the mortal realm. Others temper the excitement, pointing out that simply practicing the system will not make anyone as strong as me, since I must have comprehended great Tao laws. Most of them have grasped only concepts, and true laws are harder to reach than the heavens. One comment near the bottom catches me hard. It claims the Cheongheo sect sent a Void Return Realm expert to hunt me down and could not find a single hair. When they tried to calculate my position through the heavenly secrets, the secrets lashed back and left the expert badly injured. My gaze narrows at that. Fortunately, I acted carefully and disturbed the heavenly secrets in my karma in advance. If a Void Return Realm expert were truly on my trail, whether I could escape at all would be uncertain, and even a lucky getaway would leave me maimed. I click over to the comments under the clip, where I dropped Ye Rang in one palm. The mood there is grim comedy. One voice wonders whether Ye Riang should count himself lucky or honored to have taken my palm and lived. Another jokes that if I was truly holding back, I still let out an entire ocean. I close the broadcast feed and exit the system. Killing a man in the spirit transformation realm brought trouble, but it was not without its uses. After that fight, the power of the Tao Seed martial arts system is known to everyone. Plainly no weaker than the immortal cultivation system and perhaps stronger. As I keep refining the cultivation technique, more and more people will choose this path. I turn to Little Yellow and tell it I am entering secluded cultivation, so it should stay in the cave, guard it, and stand as my protector. It answers softly that I can rest easy with it on the job. I take out a prayer mat, spread it on the ground, and sit down cross-legged to break through to the next level of the Tao Seed realm. The Tao Manifestation realm is about condensing a great Tao Dharma form. It lets the great Tao seed nurtured in the Tao Seed realm sublimate and grow into a concrete Dharma form, the way a seed sprouts. The shape of that Dharma form differs from person to person. A dragon or tiger, an ox or horse, or trees, water or fire, all depending on the direction of Tao a cultivator has chosen. Once it condenses successfully, it is the perfect manifestation of Qi merging with the Tao. It lets a practitioner turn concepts into true great Tao laws, and command a sliver of law even in the Tao manifestation realm. My own great Tao Dharma form is the world. To condense it, I first have to open the heavens and create the earth inside a world seed, building a whole world. Since I hold 129,600 world seeds, I must open each one into an independent world to break through perfectly. My thought flashes. I focus my mind, sink my divine sense into my Dantian, and enter a single world, seed, condensing a physical form. Inside, chaos churns, and over 3,000 great Tao laws span the void, woven into a great Tao net. I reach out and grasp, and the surrounding chaos chi and the 3,000 laws converge, merging with the world great Tao. They condense 4 heaven-opening divine artifacts, a heaven-opening sword, a chaos green lotus, a great Tao jade disc, and a creation cauldron. I tell myself that today, I open the heavens and create the earth. I grip the heaven-opening sword, step onto the chaos green lotus, and set the great Tao jade disc floating above my head and the creation cauldron hovering at my side. Drawing on the power of the world to reinforce myself, I feel my strength surge, and I bring the sword down through the churning chaos chi. The sword light shakes past present and future, slicing the chaos apart and evolving the 2 chi of yin and yang. The clear chi rises slowly while the turbid chi sinks heavily down. I do not stop, swinging 48 more times, and together with the first that makes 49 strikes which finally splits this world seed fully open. The clear chi rises into sky and the turbid chi settles into earth. But in that instant, earth, water, wind, and fire rage. The newborn heaven and earth show signs of folding back toward chaos. My expression stays calm as I tap a finger. Within the heavenly Tao space, the world great Tao surges out and manifests over 3,000 great Tao laws. They weave into a net and blanket the whole heaven and earth like a canopy, steadying the world and locking it fast. Then I drive the great Tao jade disc to burst with the light of the 3,000 Taos, flooding the world and refining the law network of this new creation. I raise my hand and point at the sky, and the great Tao laws tied to the stars surge out. The laws of sun, moon, and stars fuse with the chaos chi and evolve into a solar star and a lunar star hanging overhead. After them come 365 primary stars and 129,600 auxiliary stars. Beyond those, billions more arrange themselves into a vast expanse of star space. Finally, I drive the creation cauldron to refine the leftover chaos chi between heaven and earth into innate spiritual chi and pour it into this newborn world. Once the star space is formed, I point at the earth, and the 3,000 laws set to work, the clear chi rising and the turbid descending. Before long, I carve out a netherworld deep in the earth, mirroring the living world from afar. Within it, a vast underworld continent stretches out, and a boundless winding yellow springs flows through it, before merging into the return to ruins. A nether sun and nether moon rise into the void as well, casting down a cold, faint radiance. Looking over the underworld continent, I wave a hand again. I take the reincarnation law as the base, and fuse karma, soul, and many other great Tao laws to condense a 6 paths reincarnation disc, setting the place where all living beings will cycle. After that, the gates of hell, the Naihei Bridge, and the Yellow Springs Road take shape in the netherworld one by one. With all of it done, the living world and the netherworld settle into a balance of yin and yang. The excess yin chi and death chi of the living world will drain along the passage between the two and settle on the underworld continent. Whatever yin evil things would harm the living world can rejoin the cycle of heaven and earth once the water of the Yellow Springs purifies them. Anything even the Yellow Springs cannot cleanse is sent to the return to ruins to be wholly ground down and digested. The entire netherworld thus becomes the world's purification system. I take a step and return to the living world. Above me, billions of stars hang high, their star power sprinkling across heaven and earth like sweet dew. Yet the ground below remains desolate and lifeless, filled only with dense innate spiritual energy. Then thunder cracks across the sky. Thunder is both destruction and creation, and when it rolls, all things are born. Dark clouds gather, a torrential rain pours down and washes over the newborn land. The water pools in the low places, runs along the terrain, spreads across the continent, and gathers into rivers that empty into the surrounding oceans. Under the sunlight, the seawater rises as vapor, forms clouds and rain high in the sky, and falls back to the ground. With that, a complete ecological cycle of the world is set turning. Suddenly, the whole world shudders, and the 3,000 laws appear and cover heaven and earth on every side like a canopy. My consciousness merges with the world in an instant, as if I have become the world itself, every inch of it laid clear in my perception. Inside the heavenly Tao space, a ball of light hovers, the core of this world, the heart of the heavenly Tao. Upon it, the world great Tao and the 3,000 laws intertwine and circulate, evolving and perfecting themselves, breathing out a profound aura of the great Tao origin. From that heart, the grotto heaven-level 3,000 laws flow outward and spread through the whole world like veins, wrapping it tight. Beneath the heart there is only a shallow pool of world origin, since the Dantian world has just been born, and its origin is still thin. My consciousness probes beyond the world, and I am stunned, my face full of disbelief. I had expected to see my own Dantian void, and instead I am looking at the boundless chaos sea. In that gray, hazy chaos world, the surging chaos chi churns without end, beating against the crystal wall of my world. I cannot understand how a world I carved inside my own Dantian could surface in the boundless chaos sea, since that is not how cultivation works. The thought that it might have slipped free into the chaos sea on its own tightens my chest, and I wonder at once where that leaves my physical body. I focus and sense for it, and to my relief, my consciousness is still tethered to my physical body. A single thought could carry me back. I also find that this Dantian world exists in two places at once, inside my Dantian and inside the chaos sea together, a mystery that leaves me blank for a moment. Breathing a little easier, I turn my gaze back to that gray, hazy sea. In it, there is only the rushing chaos chi, until I catch sight of a vast world not far off. It stands majestic and presses down the chaos airflow around it. Its aura feels familiar, and I wonder whether it might be the Changnan realm where I live now. Before deciding, that cannot be right. The Changnan realm is more likely a subordinate world of the one before me. That world is so immense that the one I just carved is a mote of dust beside it, not worth mentioning. As I marvel over the scale of it, I sense an evil aura of plunder coming from the far side of the multiverse, where the Changnan realm sits. I wonder what could be hidden back there to give off a thing so foul. It even occurs to me that the Changnan realm's spiritual chi may be thinning, forcing its cultivation schools to run formations just to produce spiritual chi. That may trace precisely to some evil existence on the back of the multiverse. Whatever hides there, it is certainly no kindly thing. My world is newborn and must stay far from it, or I fear it would burst like a bubble in an instant. I throw one wary glance toward the far side of the multiverse, then pull my gaze back to the world I made. The Dantian world is steadily devouring chaos chi and converting it into world origin. That origin then turns into innate spiritual energy to fill the land, or feeds the making of all things, or drives the world's continued expansion. With a flick of thought, I split the newborn origin into 4 parts. 30% widens the world's territory, 30% becomes the energy circulating between heaven and earth, 30% nurtures the living beings within, and the last 10% is stored away for later. For now, this Dantian world is only 10 billion kilometers across. The 3,000 laws are complete, and the territory looks considerable, yet it has not reached the limit of a grotto heaven world. With its origins still thin, it can only be counted a dust world of the grotto heaven level. Even so, it is an independently existing world with limitless future potential. As long as I keep perfecting the laws and stacking up world origin, I can climb it upward step by step toward a higher world. My mind moves, and I erase the record of my creation of this world from the river of time. I do not want its living beings to ever know a creator god stands over the world they live in. I want them to grow freely and burst out with startling potential, without feeling like livestock penned by some god, without breeding thoughts of slaying gods and toppling the heavens. I have no wish to be cast as the great villain, nor to clean up messes and shoulder the blame when they stir up trouble. I would rather be a quiet creator god, guiding them in secret and sitting back to enjoy the harvest, not playing babysitter. With all that done, I withdraw from the state of merging with the world. I take one more look, see it running normally, and step out of the Dantian world, back into my physical body. Examining the Dantian world again, I find the whole matter deeply strange, since I truly did see the boundless chaos sea. On a thought, I send my divine sense back in and look beyond the world once more. There it is again, that same boundless chaos sea, which means the world I carved really has appeared out there. This is good, in its way, because it proves the world I made holds enormous potential. It has the chance to grow as vast as the multiverse the Changnan realm sits in now, even to surpass it and become an eternal world. I gather my thoughts and prepare to move on to the next creation. I glance over the newly opened worlds and step out. 129,600 worlds have been opened now, and all of them have surfaced in the boundless chaos sea. Each is different,